takes the snap. He has time.
He's got outside touch. Is there. Leaping route. Touchdown. Touchdown.
The Frozen Tundra Network. Like and share our page on Facebook and Instagram. And of course, we got Bill the Packer fan, who's always been here with us. And now we have Packers News 24/7 for all of your Packers news, highlights, and updates. One of our newest pages, Packer Backer News. They have a morning show every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 10 a.m. Central Time. Go check them out. And as everybody knows, we have the Frozen Tundra Network podcast on the Northeast Streaming Sports Channel that is live every Saturday and Monday, 5 p.m. Central Time.
Why, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Super Bowl special of our morning show. And we might as well dive directly into it and get your guys' thoughts on how this Super Bowl went. We're going to just go around the horn, and we'll start with Ken.
Hey, good morning, everyone. So, yeah, Super Bowl. I mean, well, it came down. I mean, look at overtime. We got bonus time, right? So, I mean, that was cool. I mean, you see the importance of a missed extra point. Overall, not a bad game. I wish San Francisco would have pulled it out because I'm tired of seeing Kansas City and their annoying fan base win. But, hey, kudos to Kansas City for pulling out yet another one. And now we have a dynasty on our hands. Oh, friggin' great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, I'll go with them.
I'm going to have to agree with Ken. I was cheering for the 49ers to win and everything. You know, it was a great game. First half, a little boring, I guess you can say, but they picked it up in the second half and everything. Pat Mahomes is Pat Mahomes. We can all agree on that. When it comes down to do or die, he does it. And I'm not going to lie, I think Brock Purdy was a little inexperienced for that, but it wasn't only his fault. The defense did slack in the second half. But it was a good Super Bowl. I'm going to have to say that. But getting tired of the Chiefs and their fans. And the Taylor Swift, you don't need to keep doing that, people. Come on, NFL. It's about the NFL. It's not about her.
Hey, she generates money.
Believe me, I understand that. Like, doing the impossible she did, but come on, it's really about the Chiefs and the 49ers. It's not about Travis and her.
All right, Rob, how about your thoughts on it?
Man, the first half of the game was pretty dull, pretty boring. Uneventful. Both teams fumbled the ball, and it was all defense. And then the second half, it was much better. Opened up, and we actually saw some football. It wasn't a boring Super Bowl. The fact that it went to overtime was awesome. It just shows you how important it is to have a good kicker. Listen up, Matt LaFleur. I'm not saying we don't have a good kicker. He's just a rookie, and I'm just giving him crap. But all in all, it was a great game. I was happy, as far as it not being a Green Bay Packer Super Bowl. And it was all right.
Yeah. My only thing with the Super Bowl with it ended up being an awesome Super Bowl, but to me, Patrick Mahomes should not have won that MVP for that Super Bowl.
Thank you.
Yep, I agree.
Their kicker, Butker, was, to me, the MVP of that Super Bowl. He kept them in it all game long until Mahomes decided that he was going to bring out the old Mahomes and put his cape on.
Yep.
Even Moody, though, think about it. Moody has an NFL record, first field goal of the game, right? NFL record. Butker comes back and says, "Oh, I'll see your 53 yards." Let's go for 56.
I'm gonna match you on that.
Yeah, and then Moody comes back and says, well, I'll kick another 50-yarder. So last night we had 3 50-plus yard field goals. In Super Bowl history, there's only been 7. Only been 7. 3 of them were last night. And Moody, look, he's not a bad kicker. Obviously, he's nailing the big ones. The extra point got blocked because he kicked it off his ankle. Fine. But I will disagree on Purdy. I thought Purdy looked phenomenal. The kid was calm. He was poised. He didn't turn the ball over. He made good plays all game. Like if you look though, like in the fourth quarter when they got the go ahead field goal, guy came unabated to the quarterback. I mean, he just had to do what he had to do. That was more of an offensive line or a good defensive call, however you want to look at that. I mean, when he got rushed like that, he still put the ball in places that wasn't going to endanger the team, so they could still get points or not turn the ball over. Purdy, it was kind of a coming out party in a way. He is obviously not Mr. Irrelevant. He's obviously very relevant. He's obviously very good. And it just goes to show it doesn't matter where in the draft you go with these guys. I mean, this guy was literally Mr. Irrelevant. And you could argue
It sure was.
just as good. He was just as good as Mahomes last night. The argument can be made.
Oh, I agree. He was just as good. I think he did for what year is this? The second year in. He did amazing. To be like, come on, like for his stats, like, and his IQ to be in the Super Bowl for that to be that young, his IQ, that's just amazing right there. Like he read that field and hit the running. I did not expect him to run at all like that in the game, to escape the, rush defense and everything. But he was on point. I'm going to have to give him credit. He was on point.
Hey, Michael, that means turn your volume up. I hear just fine.
Yeah, no, it's
It's a sad face.
Yeah.
No, I know every Packers fan loved watching that go to overtime. Them get the field goal thinking that they got a very good chance of winning it just to watch some Mahomes magic happen and have it ripped right from them. It's happened to us so many times. You can't feel bad for him in that situation, at least as a Packers fan.
Yeah, but now the 49ers are catching up to the Kings of the Choke for the Super Bowl, man. I mean, was that 3 now? 3 in a row they've made it?
Yep, 0-3.
Shanahan's had 3 leads in a Super Bowl and
Lost
has
them all.
pissed away every single last one of them. Now I think that the talk about him being a choke artist is starting to seem like it might be relevant because his offensive schemes are great, but he seems not to be getting it done. Kind of seems like you got something you want to say.
So Nick, actually Nick, come on, dude. It's what, 8 o'clock in the morning on the West Coast? Why don't you get on the camera, dude? You can't look any worse than any of us.
He's bald. He's like me. You don't have no hair problem.
Well, come on, Nick. I'm calling you out, Nick. Get on the damn show. Anywho, you know what though, Nick? You're not totally wrong there. You're not totally right either. But I mean, I think that goes with I think Shanahan took the ball, because the old system, you kick that field goal, it's over. KC though, they knew what they had to do. So in that situation, he's like, okay, well, kick the field goal, take the points, get a defensive stop, game over. And so, but you're right. You're right. Go for it on 4th down. Pull the Dan Gamble. I get what you're saying.
I would have done it.
So,
he did the right thing. He did the right thing.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. If you're the ball second, now you go for it, right? Because I need a touchdown. So in that situation, he probably did the right thing. And look, the first half wasn't boring. It was defensive. Like Chase Young got a sack, right? They got to the quarterback. It was a defensive game in the first half. The problem is, defenses get tired, adjustments get made. I think they put a little too much faith. Both teams put a little too much faith in their defenses towards the end of the game because they got burned. But I mean, yeah, that's a tough call, Nick. But I mean,
honestly, I think the 49ers called a great defense the first half. They shut Mahomes down. They did what they were supposed to do the first half.
And I don't know if it's as much as Mahomes' magic or just the play calling coming out of, I hate to say Matt Nagy, but Reed and Nagy with the play calling. think it's more the play calling than it is Mahomes making it happen, because even that touchdown, that was a design play. I mean, that was not Mahomes finding a touchdown. I mean, that was design.
Mhm.
That was team. I mean, that was, yeah. Yeah, it's Armstead had a great game. I mean, there were a lot of 49ers. On both sides of the game, you know, there were some great play.
I thought Snead had a great game. He played well against Debo, man. Holy cow!
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
And Debo, gotta give Debo some credit too for pulling up with the hammy and staying in the game and still making.
He's played injured for I think the whole second half of the season, man.
Yeah.
Well, you know, guys, this is that time of year. Super Bowl's over. Now we're going to find out who played with injuries, right? And how bad they were. And now we're going to start to see coaches moving. A few coaches. We're going to start to see free agents signing with their teams, because no one likes to announce it Super Bowl weekend. I would not be surprised if tomorrow morning we're talking about some signings, some cuts, a new coach hire, you know, a bunch of movement should probably happen in the next couple of days. But yeah, Nick, that was a little unfair of them there.
Yeah, you know, someone's got to win, someone's got to lose.
Yep, happens every year.
So this is a good comment.
Oh, you went to unclick it.
Yeah.
Okay.
God
There
dang
we
it.
go.
Who's running the boards? There you go. There you go. Keeping it real, Joe. Keeping it real.
You know, though, that's the same thing with Mahomes, though. Like, if Mahomes had not gone to the Chiefs when he did at the time he did, with the coaching, the other players he had in KC when he was a rookie, would Mahomes be the Mahomes that we know today? Probably not.
I don't know, man. I mean, I know Andy Reid. He's a quarterback whisperer. That's. I mean.
Well, okay, that's okay. Take out Mahomes, put in Trubisky, swap them. Let's give some Bears fans and other people the scenario they always want. Mahomes went to the Bears. Trubisky went to KC. We might be singing now Trubisky's winning his third Super Bowl. I mean, the point I'm making there is Mahomes got to a situation with great coaching, with a loaded team when he got there. I think with a lot of these quarterbacks, what people fail to understand is their situation dictates, in some cases, how good they are. Look at Jordan Love. He gets 3 years behind Aaron Rodgers to learn the offense, be surrounded by good players, good coaches, good mentorship, learn the game, and he comes out last year and has a great season, right? I mean, there's something to be said about the situation that some of these quarterbacks go into. You can look at Trevor Lawrence, went into a situation in Jacksonville where there wasn't much, you know, but they started to build around him, put better talent, better coaching around him. Jacksonville's starting to do better. You know, so I mean, there's some situational stuff. And Matt Nagy, he's a great OC, it turns out. He just was a shitty head coach.
Yeah. You guys, that first year, I mean, honestly, man, you guys, Nagy did the right thing. He kept everything a secret, and then he popped out on the scene, and you guys like punched us in the mouth. I mean, almost beat us in Lambeau on opening day. I mean, that was a really, I mean, and everybody took notice of Nagy, but he didn't live up to the bill. I mean, you go 12-4 your first year, and then you can't do nothing but 8. Well, wasn't that his first year? 12-4, 13-3. You guys won 13. I didn't think you guys won 13 games. I thought it was 12.
13-3, if I remember correctly. Thinking I'm old, so you know.
No, I'm pretty sure it was 12 because there was an argument going on how many games it took you guys to win 12 games before that season. It took you like 40-some games to get 12 wins.
Let me look
before you guys had that season. And regardless, I mean, I think Trubisky could have been a great Nagy was supposed to be a quarterback whisperer. Clearly, it's not Nagy, man. It's Andy Reid over there. Nagy's just a good OC. That's all. He does what he's told. That's it. He can't run I didn't think he could. I mean, he didn't do nothing for Trubisky, and that was his guy.
Yeah.
You're right. It was 12-4. It was 12-4.
Yeah, I thought it was 12-4.
I don't know why I thought it was 13, but yeah.
And that was, and the Bears. I mean, nothing against the Bears. You guys usually have a solid defense. I mean, usually that's your guys' MO, and then you usually got a decent running back. But
Yeah, the thing with that with Nagy, then if you look at 19 and 20, he completely changed his coaching style. All of a sudden they were sit in the pocket, don't roll out, don't move. But you go to like last night, you see the coaching differences. Like Reed has been Reed, and when he adjusts, though, he puts his players in great positions. It's not that it was Mahomes' magic. It was
just alluded to what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean look, I think any of these quarterbacks that the first round, we looked it up the other day. Ken and I were talking post show. The miss rate on first round quarterbacks is what, 60%, right? 60%. All these kids have talent, or they wouldn't have gone in the first round, right?
Yeah, but
coaching, it's scheme, it's everything else they're put into that either they flourish or they die. They're very few quarterbacks.
You see that, Joe?
There are very few quarterbacks that have been drafted that, even with everything being the shit, shine. I don't think if Mahomes went to a shitty team, Mahomes is the stud GOAT quarterback that he is today. It's coaching, it's scheme, it's what you're put into. I think dictates a lot.
Ken, I'm going to have to respectfully disagree. I don't completely disagree. I think if Mahomes went to the Arizona Cardinals or like a team that hasn't traditionally won a whole lot, like he would still be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL just based on talent alone. That dude makes throws that nobody else in the NFL can make. He makes sidearm throws. He makes just come on, I hate the dude more than anybody.
He's got a sick no look pass, bro. He'd be looking way over there and throw it way there. I mean, totally out of this.
For obvious reasons, I hate the dude more than any of you guys could ever imagine. Yeah. But I can admit the dude is a top 5 on any team in the NFL. It just so happens that he ended up to get the perfect marriage to go with Andy Reid and a seasoned Andy Reid, not the Philadelphia Eagles Andy Reid that was losing all those NFC title games. He goes to the Chiefs where he's matured and he figured it out. And that, I think Patrick Mahomes is what put Andy Reid over the top, if I'm being honest.
I don't know, though, if he went to Arizona, if he's a top 5 quarterback, because he doesn't get the mentoring, the coaching, and some of those throws that he makes now, he wasn't making them initially his rookie year, but they came later. Right? I don't know if he develops into a top 5. I think he's still a very good quarterback, but I mean, you got to give a lot. I mean, look, you have to have the talent in order to get there to begin with, right? So obviously he had the talent, but I mean, I think
hop on the show and comments rolling.
Yeah, Nick, come on, man, get on the camera. It's only 8:25 in the morning out there.
And he's out here spitting blatant falsehoods too, like as if I'm sitting here happy with Jimmy G. Like nobody's happy with Jimmy G.
I was going to say, speaking of Jimmy G, this is now arguably the second average to mediocre quarterback that Shanahan's brought to the Super Bowl. Do you guys?
I actually think Brock he's better than average. Like he's better than Jimmy G. I'll put it that way. He has a lot more going for him.
He's just inexperienced. That's all.
Yeah. So I think Brock is overrated. But I think that it's not his fault. I think it's that the media has been like trying to crown this dude all season. And then like when Shanahan put the game in his hands to try to get him to win it, which I thought was a stupid strategy.
You're really getting trolled, though.
Hall
of Famer, huh?
Hall of Famer. But you got to know that that's bullshit. Because no NFL fan has ever said that Jimmy G is a first ballot Hall of Famer.
But what about this? You want Kirk Cousins as your new QB?
No, I don't.
Oh, Lord.
He's too expensive. He's expensive, number one. And number two, who knows how he's going to be after that Achilles, dude. Like, he's 36 years old. Like, I want a rookie quarterback to start young, I want to get better at the quarterback position.
Develop him.
My question for you guys is, do you think if Shanahan went and did what the Rams did and went quarterback hunting for a guy of a higher talent level, do you think that gets them over the hump, or do you think Brock Purdy is their guy to get it done?
The problem is they can't do that. They got too much other talent that they're paying for, man. That's why they can't go get a quarterback.
There's that, and then there's also the fact that like Shanahan is the hump. Like Shanahan is the problem, dude.
He's only 3.
He has shown that he just can't, for whatever reason, he can't do what he's supposed to do in the Super Bowl. Like, you go to the Falcons, right? When he was the offensive coordinator, right? They were killing I think it was Devontae Foreman or Freeman. He was killing them the whole first half.
Yep.
What do they do in the second half? They stop running the ball. 2019 with 2020 with Jimmy G, right? He puts the ball in Jimmy G's hands rather than running the ball. And, you know, there was also some questionable calls in that game, but I'm going to go ahead and say that Shanahan, you know, had a lot of blame in that one too. This one yesterday, absolutely. Like, you're killing them in the first half, right? Like, losing Greenlaw, let's be honest, losing Greenlaw was a big loss for them.
Wow,
that was
what
bad.
a fluke way to lose him too. Holy
That
shit!
was-
Just hopping on the sidelines, he was just so excited to get back in there, and man.
Yeah. But if you look to that point, Kelsey only had one target, one catch.
Yeah.
Like,
For
Mahomes
1
looked
yard,
lost.
he only had a
Mahomes-
1 yard catch. Yeah, that
And
was it.
Mahomes looked lost out there. And then all of a sudden, once Greenlaw goes down, now the middle of the field opens up, and they have to make adjustments to try to cover that spot. So Kelsey was wide open the whole second half, dude. Like,
So can we make the argument that Kelsey was more of the MVP for Kansas City yesterday than Mahomes was?
I don't know, but I let me finish this thought about it. Shanahan being the bump, though, because he's the speed bump. He's the hump, because in the third quarter, you're still up. You're up 10-3, right? And then you completely go away from the running game, and he decides he wants Brock Purdy to throw for 500 yards. Like, the first three drives that the Niners came out in the second half, it was pass, 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 punt, pass, 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 punt, run, pass, pass, punt.
Well, they went 3 and out 4 in a row that 2nd half. They went 3 and out
That's
4
what I'm
times
saying.
in a row.
But three of those drives, it was pass, 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 punt. Like, you know, and you have Christian McCaffrey, like, he's the heart and soul of your team. And, like, I get it. People are going to say, well, he was only averaging 3-something yards a carry. But, like, the part of that reason that he was averaging 3 yards a carry is because Shanahan kept slamming him into the middle of the freaking line. Every time he went left behind Trent Williams, he was getting good
he was gone.
He was getting good yards.
He was getting to the next level.
Yeah. And so that's completely on coaching. And then you guys were also talking about the third down. There was the 3rd down and 4, right? Like, I said in regulation, he should have gone for it. Then in overtime, he definitely should have gone for it. On 4th and 4, from like the whatever yard line it was, they were like down in the red zone. Like, if you're going to give Mahomes the ball back, you know he's going to score a touchdown. You have to get a touchdown there. There's no taking the field goal conceded the game, in my opinion, because you knew Mahomes was going to get the ball. Your defense hasn't been able to stop him the whole second half. You know, now maybe that's the defensive coordinator's fault, but as the head coach, you can tell the defensive coordinator, hey, dude, stop playing freaking zone. Hey, stop playing 10 yards off the ball on freaking, you know, 3rd and 4.
Yeah, but if the kicker doesn't miss that extra point, I think it's a whole different game, man. So
Yeah.
I mean, you can say that too, because they're going to have to play it differently. They're not going to play it that way.
I think Shanahan has more blame than anyone else on the Niners, like, for this game. I do.
Yeah, no,
coach,
he's the coach, bro. He's definitely got the problem.
Now, Dom,
I mean, 3 Super Bowls, you got to lead, and you should win the game. And I mean,
now, Dom, what are your feelings on Shanahan as being a main Falcons fan and blowing leads in the Super Bowl?
Shanahan's a joke. I dislike the guy. It proves he's a choke artist. He's 0-3 when it comes to being in the Super Bowl. He's not clutch. He has the 3 biggest leads blown, I believe. Falcons 28-3. This game, and then what was it? 2020.
I don't think 10 points is one of the biggest leads blown. I mean,
no, it's not.
No,
10 points,
it's not.
But at the end of the day, he still has the biggest lead blown, and it's proven that he doesn't have the clutch gene. If you're a head coach and you just, as Joseph said, stop running the ball, it doesn't matter. Christian McCaffrey, you know, the receiving he was doing and the running, that's the heart and soul of the 49ers right there. I understand. So why would you stop running the ball? You've already seen it in the first Super Bowl you've been to, the second Super Bowl you've been to. Why the third? You've seen that the Chiefs couldn't stop you. So I believe that Shanahan doesn't have that clutch gene and he gets afraid.
You know why I think he did it? You know why granted, I'm not in his mind, so I don't know. But I think he just trusted Purdy a lot more than he trusted Jimmy G. And so he felt like he could put the game in his hands, and Purdy proved him wrong.
Yeah, like
well, I mean, look at those. Like, so I'm going to take some of what you just said and totally disagree on Shanahan with the Atlanta game, especially. Atlanta, the defense is what cost Atlanta that Super Bowl, because that defense completely disintegrated in the second half. That was not Shanahan making bad offensive play calls. That was a defense that was gassed, couldn't stop a high school football team running.
Hey, Ken,
I'm going to disagree with that, though.
Ken, do you not remember?
Hey, 28-3.
Let's ask Dominic.
Oh, hold on.
Do you not remember when Shanahan had Matt Ryan throw the ball on 2nd and 3rd down, and he got sacked on both plays and got kicked out of field goal?
But look at also that defense couldn't stop Dominic trying to move the ball down the field. That defense was gassed.
The offense did not score a point in the second half, though. You got to understand that.
It's not all offense. So, although the offense scored, the defense had a lead to protect, and they failed to do so. And if you look at yesterday's game, I'm with the argument. I mean, yeah, he trusted Purdy. They got away from the run, but I was going to say this. Isn't that always the case in every single game that we've ever watched? I don't care who's playing. Oh, well, they should have kept running the ball. Why they go throwing the ball? That's always the argument. And doesn't mean it's not true.
But the NFL's a passing game now. Like, I understand that.
You can't just run. Well, the run worked. Well, the run doesn't. The reason they go away from the run sometimes is because the run became less effective. So, okay, now we'll try throwing the ball and see if that works, and then we'll go back to the run. Oh, look, the run works again. But the reason most of the time
you're right.
Run because the run stops being effective for whatever reason.
Right.
Now, the better argument, Joseph, was, and this is where I agree with you, and this, Joseph, I think you might agree with this, is he should have gone back to the run sooner than he did.
Yeah,
they didn't have McCaffrey involved in the second half.
I also think that Shanahan, where he messed up, like, okay, if you're gonna go away from the run, like, fine, but like you got to do it in a certain way, man. Like, I felt like the opportunity was there for a lot of play action because they were already biting McCaffrey, run game.
Yeah.
They were already like bringing the linebackers up, so it's like you would have had opportunities there to run play action if you would have faked the handoff to McCaffrey. Like, it could have opened up some of the passing game. But I also want to say that the Chiefs secondary played a freaking phenomenal game, dude. Like they really did a good job of taking away the weapons. Like,
that's just one play, man. That comment right there, you see that where he's talking about the play? But that's just one play, bro. That's just one fucking play.
No. That play changed the entire game. That play, though, I was thinking about this last night, about this play. He's got a point there. That play changed the entire game. Look at what had just happened. The Niners had forced Kansas City's offense off the field. The ball on the punt hits the back of the dude's leg, gives Kansas City the turnover, and all of a sudden, boom, Kansas City puts 7 points on the board.
Yeah, it was a huge play.
But that was a monster play that changed it.
Okay,
that's not the only reason, but that play, I think, changed the entire course of the game.
Let me say to Darren, that's not the one play it came down to. Because how about at the beginning of the second half when Patrick Mahomes threw that interception and your offense went 3 and out? Like, that was a huge momentum swing.
Or Pacheco fumbling inside the 10 as he's going in the end zone. I mean, he fumbled too. I mean, there was some clutch plays, man.
It came down to that one special teams play. I don't feel being honest, man.
No,
the Niners had opportunities.
That's one of the biggest plays of the game, though, because that play put 7 points.
Yeah, it was definitely one of the most impactful plays of the game. But to say that they lost because of that alone is, in my opinion, not correct. There was more than one reason they lost that game, dude.
Yeah, to me, the biggest play wasn't even an actual play. It was Dre Greenlaw running from the sideline onto the field, getting the Achilles injury.
That changed the momentum. They had the Chiefs shut down.
Yeah, allowed Kelsey to go absolutely nuts in the second half.
And what a weird way to get injured, right? I mean, onto the field. And yeah, okay, whatever, Cody. And I'm just when I see bullshit comments, you're just gonna get a whatever. So whatever, Cody. Have a nice day. what
Trolling.
Yeah, fucking trolls. Love you being a troll, but whatever. If you want me to talk about your comment, make it a real comment. The Achilles injury. I mean, that's 3 major Achilles injuries this year, and what a way to get that coming onto the field. And you're right, that changed the defense. That changed Kansas City's San Francisco's defense. I mean, anything that could go wrong for San Francisco in the second half seemed to go wrong. I mean, look at they still managed to keep it a good game.
Missing the one extra point to me is the most important thing of it all. And I mean, you don't have overtime if he makes that kick.
Yep.
There's also one more thing. There's also one more thing that's not being talked about. And, I don't expect like everybody to have noticed it, but, people who pay close attention. So I played offensive line in high school, so I pay attention to line play. Like everybody watches kind of different things, right? I pay attention to line play. To me, one of the biggest differences in the game in the first and the second half was that in the first half, the 49ers defensive ends played really, really good ball, and they kept the contain on Mahomes. In the second half, whether they were tired or what, they got sloppy, and they started like over pursuing Mahomes, and it opened up rushing lanes that weren't there in the first half. And I thought Mahomes running actually killed him a bit too.
Oh, that that 4th down designed run for Mahomes. I mean, that was a straight up designed run. Gashed him huge. I mean, that was a huge play call.
Yeah,
absolutely. It was a ballsy play call too. But see, I think Reed noticed that. I think he noticed that the defensive ends were over pursuing and that they were losing contain. And so he felt like it was a call that
it was an aggressive pass rush, and they took advantage of it. Man, he immediately went up the middle. And that's how they got it. I mean,
I think
you need an aggressive pass rush against Mahomes to have any kind of success. But the key is that while you have that aggressive pass rush, you have to stay disciplined. You can't open up.
I think Bosa did for the most part. You could probably only point to like a handful of times at best that Bosa didn't. Because even when Tony Romo was even pointing out how disciplined Bosa was being with the rush yesterday, I think I could probably look at maybe 1 to 2 plays, and that doesn't include that Mahomes designed run, because that was a beautifully designed run that had nothing to do with them breaking contain or over pursuing. I think Bosa really only did that maybe once or twice. I mean, but you look at what happened in this game, the key moments, the fumble.
I have to disagree with you on that.
The punt turnover was huge. The missed extra point was huge. The injury, the Achilles coming out of the field. That's 3 huge turning points, all against San Francisco. Bosa did a phenomenal job.
That fourth down designed run, though. That 4th down designed run, like. If the defensive ends keep contained, that forces Mahomes to go back up inside rather than outside. He went outside the tackle on that. So if the defensive end keeps contained, it forces Mahomes back inside, and he may not get that as much yardage there.
I think that's nickel and diming him down too hard on that. That's not Bosa's fault for that play call. I mean, or Chase Young's fault for that play call, because the entire line went to one direction. I mean, that was phenomenal play calling by Andy Reid. I would give Andy Reid the credit, not discredit Bosa for that play, so to speak. Yeah. That was just a beautiful play call, and those happen. That's not Bosa's fault because the play call was phenomenal.
Well, I can agree that Mahomes gets a little more favorable. But that intentional grounding call that went against him was
such crap.
Terrible. That had a guy 3 yards away from it.
So this is a pass.
The tackle box.
Look at the ref do it, because they said that the one official came to the head ref, said, "Hey," he's like, "No." He's like,
"Stop it."
The guy pushed the ball like this. He wasn't passing. He was just trying to push the ball away from himself.
It's still a pass. We've seen Brett Favre do some crazy
it was a shovel pass, bro. It was all that was.
Mm-hmm.
You can't tell me, man. All he did was switch hands and was throwing it with his top hand. That's all he was doing, man.
I mean, granted, you're right. Technically, it's a pass, But dude, come on, the ref, like the intent there was he was just trying to get rid of it.
But bro, he was out of the box,
outside the
and,
box.
and he threw it towards the line of scrimmage, out of bounds, granted, and there was a player within 5 yards of that, bro. You could have easily
great.
made the argument that he was throwing to that guy.
Oh, schnizzle.
Yeah, it was behind the line of scrimmage, out of bounds, and then now you have to get the 5-yard thing. I think that everyone's making a correct argument on this. I think if they brought up the measuring tape, was he within 5 yards? I don't know. It was pretty close, right?
But bro, it was close enough. You could argue it.
But then the head official was kind of like, yeah, dude, he was trying to pass. He was literally just trying to push it out of bounds. I think the ref went with more like his intent versus like, well, we can quibble whether the guy's within 5 yards.
But that's the whole point. He was trying to get it out of bounds. He had nothing, and he was trying to get it out of bounds. That was.
He get sacked. Oh my God, Nick!
Yeah.
Nick! It's Nick. He's on camera. He does exist.
Joe is such a Raiders fan, it's sickening. You guys fucking suck, okay?
Now you got Nick trolling in person. Are you happy?
And
See, you brought it on us, Ken. We had a nice clean
I brought him out of the basement. I brought him out of the
Ken
tunnel.
wants so badly for Justin Fields to stay. Do you understand that you guys are going to sit in mediocrity every year that bum is there?
Okay. Well, first off, Ken, if I got to get up this early, Nick's getting up this early. Now, since Nick knows nothing about programming a show, let me go there first. because obviously this is where Nick wants to go, and this is the question. Are the Bears trading the number 1 pick in this year's draft, or are they keeping Justin Fields? This is where Nick wants to go. Is that where you want to go, Nick?
If they don't trade the number 1 pick, if they're going to keep Fields, then they're.
I don't understand why would they even trade it. Just pick up
because there's so much that you can gain from trading that pick. It'd be, in my opinion, as a Bears fan, if I was a Bears fan, insufferable to watch them not trade that pick and gain all of those assets from that pick.
Yeah, no.
I kind of agree with Nick on this one. I think the haul that you could get from that pick could build your entire roster out.
Yeah.
Well, and Joe, I'll say this.
First of all, Poles ain't that smart.
No. Second, okay.
Look at the moves he makes.
And Rob, I'll say, no, look it. Here's what you have to ask yourself. First off, you're going to get to the playoff now year as far as a rebuild plan, okay? So I'll break it down as simply as I can so even Nick can understand this. When you look at this pick, if you draft Caleb Williams, does he improve your wide receiving core as a whole? No.
Marvin Harrison Jr. isn't good enough.
Stop.
Marvin Harrison Jr. isn't
Let
good enough.
Let him speak. Let him speak.
Make me hit mute on all of you guys. Let me get through it. Let me get through the whole thing first, and then you can go, oh my God. So let me get through it. Number 1, does he make your wide receiving core better as a whole? No. Does he make your offensive line better as a whole? No. Does he make your running back room better as a whole? No. Does he do anything better than what you've got right now?
Yes.
At best, maybe. You can't say yes because, Ken, what's the miss rate on a first-round quarterback?
Oh, God. What would you say?
60%. Okay, now.
60, right?
If I draft Marvin Harrison Jr., do I make my wide receiving room better? Most definitely. Do I make my tight end room better? Yes, I do. Do I make my running game better? Yes, I do. Do I improve my offensive line? Yes, I do. Do I improve my quarterback play with my current quarterback? Yes, I do. I get more improvement out of drafting Marvin Harrison Jr. first overall. Now, if I go to Nick, if I trade it for a haul of draft picks, okay, that's great, but that doesn't help me win this year. Marvin Harrison Jr. does.
It actually could. It actually could help you win this year because you could trade down to the 4th or 5th pick, still get Marvin Harrison Jr., and have a haul of picks added to that. Yes, you definitely could.
Really? So who's at 4 right now, Nick?
Arizona.
Yeah, you don't
Arizona.
know.
Arizona.
Who's Arizona going to take with the pick?
Marvin
Harrison.
Marvin
Harrison.
So then 3rd. So you move to 3rd and you still get a bunch of picks.
Patriots.
So the only way you can,
Patriots need a quarterback.
The only way
do.
you can trade out, you're right. And this is the one spot where you're actually right, Nick. The only way you can trade out and still get Marvin Harrison Jr. is you trade with Washington or New England. Now, Washington's sitting in the number 2 spot. No team in the number 2 has ever traded up to number 1.
But New England would be a perfect fit because they would like to jump the Commanders and get that quarterback.
So in that case, you're getting a better haul. So we'll look at each haul. If you go from 2 to 1, you're going to get a – hold on, Joe. if you go from 2 to 1, the haul is this. You're going to flip. You're going to get the number 2 for year 1. You might get a first rounder next year, maybe, but highly doubtful. You'll probably get their second rounder this year and maybe a third rounder next year. You're probably going to just flip, pick up a second rounder, a third rounder. It's not that big of a deal. Now, from 3 to 1, you're going to get a bigger haul. You're going to go from 1 to 3. Okay, you're going to flip. You're probably going to get their second rounder this year. You're going to get their first rounder next year. And you're probably going to get another, like a third or fourth rounder next year as well. So the haul would be bigger. You're right, Nick. But that's the only scenario in which you're going to get a big haul. If neither of those teams are wanting to trade, though, you're drafting number 1 overall and you're taking Marvin Harrison Jr. And then you might be looking to trade number 9 away.
Okay, so look, first of all, you said a couple of things like that I would have to comment on. First, you said, if you draft Caleb Williams at number 1, does it make your receiver room better? Does it make your running back room better, right? Like, but I think drafting Caleb at number 1 is the biggest mistake. Like, I think the other 2 quarterbacks are actually going to do probably better than Caleb in the NFL.
I think Bo Nix might be the best quarterback in this draft. I really do. I think he might.
There are people that have
get him at 20, and you know, he might actually be the most
I think
talented arm in the draft.
I think Jaden Daniels has a lot of potential. So it's not guaranteed that you're going to take Caleb, number 1. Number 2 is that Washington actually might be in a position to trade up because they want Caleb, because Cliff Kingsbury is their offensive coordinator. They really want Caleb. So that's
why you can get a bigger haul from the Patriots, because they'd be looking to jump the Commanders. You could get a lot more.
Patriots are open to trading too, I heard.
Yeah, and they're open.
Rumors.
They're open to trading up to get the guy that they want.
Yep.
But also, if you take the Washington trade, it makes a lot of sense, because let's be real, even if Washington gets like a Drake May or a Jaden Daniels, they're not going to the playoffs this year. Their defense is terrible.
So
they have a long
way to
go.
holes.
And then they're going to turn around and trade some of their draft picks to get Caleb. It's a mistake all around. Like, I personally have said, I don't think Washington is ready for their quarterback yet. I think they should flesh the roster out and wait till
new ownership.
With Howell.
I think Howell is
new ownership. Just get rid of everybody. Not everybody, but start fresh more so.
I honestly don't see anything wrong with sticking with Howell.
Or do you build a roster first? Like, that's my thing.
I think Howell is perfectly capable as a quarterback, and I actually think he could be pretty good. I don't see anything wrong with the kid.
He downplayed though. 4-13. Is that what he went? He was doing amazing in the beginning of the season, but then towards the end,
he's a very capable 300-yard a game passer.
Yes.
Like, he's shown that, and I think that he has the tools to be successful. The problem is you're playing for the Commanders. You know what I mean?
They have
that
no
ownership
defense.
is messy. So
they have no defense.
Cody's comment there about the Cards actually trading back with someone like the Raiders, who might want to move up and be aggressive to get a quarterback. Once again, I think for them though, Cody, it's this: if the Bears, like I agree with Nick, but to the extent is the Bears would only trade the number 1 if they can go to 2 or 3, right? If Marvin Harrison Jr. is off the board, would the Cards be more likely to trade away 4? I think yes, but the problem is that they still want a high-end wide receiver. So I don't know how much farther back they want to go. Like the Raiders are 8, so they might
13.
do that because they're what are they?
13.
Then they won't go back to the Raiders. Why? Because that leaves the Bears at 9. The Bears then might take the other stud wide receiver and just load up on wide receivers.
What if the Cardinals come to you guys with an absolute haul because they want Marvin Harrison Jr. so bad? You then, at their pick, could take a high-profile offensive tackle.
No,
we
would take a wide. No, we won't. No. We would still take the what's the other wide receiver? The kid from LSU, Neighbors. We'd probably select Neighbors at number 4 then. And look, as far as like Neighbors being the consolation prize, be it for Arizona or in a situation like you're talking, Nick, that's not a bad consolation prize. He actually had some better numbers than Marvin Harrison Jr. did this last year. So that's the thing. I think from Arizona's perspective, though, if the Bears move back to 2 or 3 or even draft at 1, the reason why Ryan Poles said it would have to be something spectacular to make him move off number 1 is because we want Marvin Harrison Jr. And you're really going to have to wow us to move us off of guaranteeing that we're getting him. So when you look at the Cards, would the Cards be willing to move back to 12 or 13? Yes, if they think they can get Neighbors with that pick. However you say his name with
or
that pick.
Or a
Or,
Dunze.
Dunze is like your third option, but I think I think Neighbors, for them, it's like, if we can't get Marvin Harrison, then we got to get Neighbors. Because
I've actually seen a Dunze mocked as the second receiver off the board in more than one mock draft.
And if you go
Like
back to
it's close
13,
between
though,
him and Neighbors, but I've seen Neighbors mocked second, but I've also seen a Dunze mocked second.
if they go back to 13, they might not get any of those three. All three could be off the board by 13.
You know what I want to see? I think that this would be amazing for TV in general. If the Bears trade to 3, they get a haul for that pick, and they're planning on getting Marvin Harrison Jr., right? And then all of a sudden, the Cardinals trade with the Commanders and go to 2 and take Marvin Harrison Jr., the pick before the Bears. That
Work a deal out, then back it.
Well,
yeah,
and that,
amazing TV.
and that's where
Entertainment.
Yeah, and that's when the Bears. That's what I'm saying. That's where either Neighbors or Dunez comes to play. But I mean, that's why I think, though, because of that situation, though, Nick, is why
Just
Cole
take
is
our.
saying it's got to be a trade that just blows us away for us to come off of number 1. Because honestly,
we sent you the link.
Yeah.
Hey,
So,
So you're
from a
valuing the
pyramid-
receiver position this year over the offensive line position, which you guys
See,
clearly need.
That's what I was
feel like
just
that's a
going to
higher
say.
value.
that From
Yeah,
a team building perspective, like if it just depends on your philosophy, right? Like if your philosophy is we're going to keep Justin Fields and we're going to roll with him, then you
Get
have
an
to give
offensive
him.
lineman.
Then I think exactly.
but
If you
not-
traded down,
not in the
you
first-
trade down
no.
a couple spots.
They
Whether
have
you
studs
get Marvin
this
Harrison
year.
or not.
I
There
can
are
get
2
what I need. Look
offensive
at-
tackles this year that are absolute
Yeah,
studs.
no, I need a center. That's all I need. I need a center as my primary focus.
You
I
do
can
need
get
a
that in
center,
the
that's for
third round.
sure. You don't
I
want
need
to
that in
stick
the
with
third round. The rest of my line's fine. Look,
you don't
I
want
mean,
to
this
stick
is
with Lindsley
yeah.
and Lucas Patrick and all these guys. That you
well,
guys take
Patrick
from
is the
Packers?
center. He's gone. Lucas Patrick's gone. It's the center position.
Yeah,
White
I know.
Hair's
What
gonna
I'm
get
saying
cut.
is you don't want to stick with our leftovers.
No,
You guys
no.
love that.
I was going to say I
Well,
think
that's
we
what
got a
you
guy
guys-
on
you
the
guys-
practice squad.
I mean, so
Ryan Pauls
but,
don't know
I
what
mean,
he's
look,
doing.
You're not gonna take that. Look, there's this. Unfortunately, there's this for everyone who wants to talk about the draft. There's this thing that happens before the draft that's going to change all of that. It's called free agency, right? So the Bears in free agency. There are a couple centers out there that could fill that need.
And the Bears
Another-
have like 70 million in cap space.
No,
Yeah.
we got. No, we don't. We got like 40, 45,
What?
46 or something right now. Yeah,
That's still a lot.
Man, it's still a lot of money.
But look, after we cut Jalen Johnson, that's going to free up 15 mil. After we cut Whitehair, we'll end up with about 70.
You
So Joe,
should
you're
cut
right.
Eddie Jackson.
You're right.
You should, get,
You're-
you should be done
that
with
guy's
Eddie
old.
Jackson.
He
are- I
He
just
is
said-
just
yeah.
terrible.
After Eddie Jackson and Whitehair, Joe, you're probably right. It's probably more about 70. And if they want even more, they can get more. Now, look, a lot of people felt yesterday was an audition for Chase Young to join the Bears. I thought Chase Young played really good in the Super Bowl yesterday, especially in the first half. And then we're also being linked to Danielle Hunter, who had 15, 16 sacks last year for the Vikings.
Danielle
So the
Hunter
Bears are
was great
gonna
this
spend-
year.
Yeah, he was.
The Bears are going to spend some money for sure. And I think they're going to spend their money at defensive end, and they're going to spend it at center. And you're going to see they're going to spend it. So I think if the plan is to get Marvin Harrison Jr., the thing is then that number 9 pick is the one that's more likely to be moved than the number 1. And the number 9, I think, doesn't get moved until draft day. Because if we drop Marvin Harrison Jr., let's say Odunez or Neighbors is still on the board, do you stack up your wide receiving room with 3 number 1s?
I don't
And
think
really-
that Marvin Harrison Jr. is talented enough for you to not trade that pick and go for someone like Neighbors, for example.
He's the best player in this draft.
I don't know, man.
I don't think
actually
I
a
don't
tough
think
call.
he's. Look, people are acting like this guy is Calvin Johnson coming out. Like it's not. He's not that good. I'm not saying that he's not that good in general. I'm saying he's not one of these generational, team-changing, like philosophy type receivers.
He's not a number
that
1
good.
pick.
Nick, a lot of people think that he is, though. Like they,
Yeah,
Well,
a lot
that's
of
the problem.
really
A lot of
do.
people are duped into thinking that he is. This guy is not one of these guys. He's not.
Like
Randy
you won't
Moss.
find
He's
a
not Jerry
single
Rice.
exec in the NFL who say the Bears reached at number 1 if they draft Marvin Harrison Jr. He is a guy. If you draft him number 1, no one's going to say they reached at number 1. He is a
I
legit.
disagree. No matter who you guys draft, I'm going to say you reached anyways. So
A lot of hype comes from his name because his dad is obviously a Hall of Famer. look at. I mean, there's a lot of people who say he's a legit number one pick. Obviously, whoever the Bears pick, Nick is going to say is a reach. So I'll take that.
I don't think he's worth the
What's up,
number one
A-Dub?
pick. I don't think he's worth the number one pick. In fact, I'm so confident about that if Green Bay had the number one pick this year, I'd go, please don't draft a receiver. This guy is not that gravitating to me. I'm happy with what we got. In fact, I think Jaden Reed is going to end up being better than Marvin Harrison Jr. will end up being.
I agree, Nick. I agree, Nick.
Exactly, Joe. I'm with Joe on that one.
That's kind of a
That's
homer.
because you guys are
I don't think that's Homer at
anti-Packers.
all. Jaden Reed, as a rookie, proved that
He's a fucking beast, bro. He can run. He can
built for
catch.
this.
He can do it all.
Marvin Harrison Jr.
Oh,
He
wait a
does
minute.
it all,
Hey,
bro.
Joe.
I'm not saying
I
the
think
dude
Cody was right.
sucks.
Hey, Joe.
I think
you can
Cody
We
watch
didn't
was
ask him to
right.
throw, but I bet he could throw too, Joe.
Hold on.
Here's
one
the
at a time.
problem. Cody was right. It's more hype than anything at this point. He's being hyped up. He is
Everybody
not one
hyped.
of these
That's any draft
generationally
prospect, Nick.
team-changing wide
All
receivers.
draft
He's not.
prospects are like that. They all trying to
That's
hype
all
their
draft.
shit.
Yeah, Nick,
Tune
that's
into the show,
that's
the
every
game.
prospect. Every
disagree.
prospect's being hyped right now.
I mentioned Calvin Johnson for a reason. When he came out, the world knew that this guy was that dude. Marvin
and the
Harrison
world's
Jr. is
saying
not
the
that
same
dude.
thing about everyone in the world is saying the same thing except for you, Nick.
Right, no worries.
That's
I
not
mean, the
true.
rest of the football world is like, this guy is a legit one receiver. He's a game changer.
You
He's Marvin
just saw a
Harrison.
comment pop up that
Well,
was agreeing with what I was saying. It's more
question.
apt.
Okay, well, Cody
Quick
has done
question.
nothing but
Hold
talk
on.
smack
Question.
all day. So.
Hold on. A-Dub's trying to get
Go
in.
ahead, A-Dub.
I was gonna say you were talking about him being overhyped. Could you say the same thing about Keyshawn Johnson when he got drafted at the time? Because he's the first receiver that was ever drafted, did number one in the draft.
And I think that's actually a good comparison. He might be a Keyshawn Johnson type where Keyshawn Johnson was amazing the first 6, 7
But he
years of
wasn't
his
a
career.
super elite,
but he-
yeah.
Exactly. He
There's been a
wasn't
lot
no
of
Calvin
receivers that have been
Johnson. He
overhyped,
wasn't no
yeah.
T.O. Okay.
Yeah,
He wasn't
yeah,
one
he
of those
doesn't.
guys.
He doesn't
Dude,
hit
Mark-
that status at all. No,
Go
he
back,
doesn't.
go back and watch Marvin Harrison's tape, man. There is nothing that dude doesn't do well, extremely well.
Okay,
Like,
but
everything, dude. He's a
but that's
great route
college, man.
runner.
It's got to
He has
transfer
excellent
over into
hands.
the
Well,
pros.
You know what,
Yep.
Joe? You know what?
Keyshawn,
Go back
Keyshawn-
and watch Reggie Bush's tape in college. There was nothing that
Yeah.
man could
No,
ever
he was
do
hyped
that
too. He was
flawed.
hyped coming out too.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
Keyshawn Johnson
Well,
was
that's
the
the
first
risky
number
run.
one pick. Keyshawn
That's the risky
Johnson,
run,
number-
taking a receiver at number one, dude. Like,
Okay.
That's
you
what
know.
I'm saying.
That's
So-
why Green Bay doesn't do it.
It's a
But
risk.
to me, I think
Yeah.
Marvin Harrison, like, I would like to get him not at one, you know, but like at the same time, if that's your only option to get him, like, I think, you know, if you're going to take a swing, there's worse guys to take a swing on at number one, like
I
Caleb
agree.
Williams.
I agree
He
with
doesn't.
that.
He doesn't get out of the top three for sure, man. He doesn't go.
Yeah.
I would
But
rather
why
my
is that?
team
So,
get
hold
Marvin
Why is
Harrison.
that?
on, guys. Hold on.
Why
Hold
is
on.
I would obviously rather my team get Marvin Harrison Jr. than Caleb Williams. I'll give you that. Like, that's an obvious in my opinion.
No, but what I'm saying, I wanted to ask Rob the question because he, you know, he said he's obviously not getting out of the top three. Why is he obviously not getting out of the?
Dude,
The
he's
answer
been.
is because everyone in the NFL knows that the dude is going to be
He's-
legit.
Yeah,
Okay, so I've been trying for 5 minutes to get this out. Let me get this out. Keyshawn Johnson, 1996, number one pick. Played for 4 teams. The Jets from 96 to 99. I think to answer your question, Donald.
Doesn't
his
say
quarterback
elite.
hold on, let me finish. I think his quarterback was Vinny Testaverde. We can double check that in a minute. He then went to the
Testicle.
Bucks.
It
Hold
was.
on. Then went to the Bucks. Then went to the Cowboys. Finished with the Panthers. Super Bowl champion, 3-time Pro Bowl, unanimous All-American, 3rd-team All-American, Pop Warner Trophy, whatever. Pac-10 Offensive Player of the Year in '95, 2 times first-time All Pac-10. In '94, '95, that's his big stats. So he came out pretty good hype. I think though it was Testaverde was his first quarterback.
I think
Mr.
for the Bucks it was
Colorblind.
Brad Johnson, right? I think he had Brad Johnson as
Yeah, he had Brad Johnson.
That was when he was in Tampa and they won the Super
Tampa.
Bowl.
Yeah, when he was with Tampa.
So
Let me see if I can look up who his quarterback was.
as amazing as he wasn't one of again, he wasn't a Calvin Johnson or a T.O. or a Moss. He wasn't even close to one of these guys.
Nope.
Even though he was a great wide receiver, a great guy to have, right?
Yeah, nobody
He was a
putting
solid
Keyshawn
number
in the
two.
top 5 of
He
all
was a
time.
solid
Like,
too, man.
Yeah,
He was all.
exactly.
nobody's putting Keyshawn in the top 5 or maybe even 10 of all time. Like,
Exactly.
he's no Randy Moss. He's no T.O. You know,
He's a
he's
solid
not even,
number 2, man.
he's
And
not
I
even
think
Marvin Harrison. He's not even Marvin Harrison Sr. Like
I think Marvin
Right.
Harrison Jr. is getting the same hype though, and he's not. I don't think he's going to be one of these guys. Is my point.
I
Well,
see the
but
potential there for
no
him
one's
to be
saying
one
it's
of
not
those guys.
deserved hype, though. That's the whole point, man. I mean, you got to showcase everything you did in college. I mean, he just read all the accolades for Keyshawn. That's why he was hyped so high. It doesn't mean he's going to. I mean, when you get into pros, it's different, man.
Different. You're playing against men.
Yeah.
You know who I think was also overhyped in like the same sense? He wasn't as overhyped as Marvin Harrison Jr. in this sense, but Jameson Williams was getting super overhyped over and over again. He got to the NFL and he's not getting shit done, man. He's just not.
I think he's actually like he's trending upwards to me. Like from where he
because the
started,
first year he
trending
had
upwards.
like 1 catch, and the second year he had like 300 yards. So I guess that's trending upwards technically. Like,
well, I don't understand if he's so good. Why they don't
here's the
showcase
thing.
him like they do Ahmad Brown? I mean, I mean, come on, man.
Gambling got him. That's why.
Well, if you ask Lion fans, they'll tell you at the time they got him, Jameson Williams couldn't do that much given how he was just recovering from a particular injury at the time they drafted him.
So what was their excuse this year? They could have highlighted him this year. That's my point, is if he's so good, how come he's not more a part of your offense?
Because he had a bet with Dan Campbell before the season if he was going to start or not, and he lost, so it was Amon Ra.
Bro, he went out and was throwing dice in the back room. That's what happened.
So Marvin Harrison Jr.
See, I agree with Cody.
Major League Ice games.
Ralph and Harrison Jr. can't run. He's easily a number 1. I agree with that statement.
Yep.
Like there's not I would even go further than Cody and say it's not just that there's not a route that Harrison Jr. can't run. There's not a thing on the field that a receiver does that he can't do and do excellent. Like he's got speed, he's got size, he's got hands, he's got an excellent route tree. He's a really great player, dude.
And let's compare him to the guy A-Dub
the
talked
thing
about.
Is, though, Ken,
comparatively speaking, he was a Blitnikoff Award. Okay, Blitnikoff Award winner 2023, 2-time unanimous All-American in 22 and 23. Chicago Tribune Silver Football 23. I don't care about that one. Graham George Offensive Player of the Year 2023. 2 times Richard Howard Receiver of the Year 22 and 23. 2-time first team All Big Ten 22 and 23. So his pedigree is so much better than Keyshawn Johnson was.
I see why he's hyped. I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
But Ken, let me ask you this though.
Yeah.
If he goes to Chicago at number 1, is having Justin Fields for a quarterback, doesn't that do him a bit of a disservice though?
No.
Not according to Ken. You're asking the wrong guy, bro.
No. Look, you guys gotta look at the totality. If I bring Marvin Harrison Jr., what does that do now to defenses when you got Marvin Harrison Jr. and DJ Moore? You're not putting 8 in the box like you normally want to. You gotta double one or both of these guys. Are both legit number 1 threats, right? So like I said, it opens up the entire offense for everyone more. And we'll see how the new OC goes, because our last OC was hot trash as far. But,
honestly, if you put more pressure on Fields, I think then you break that whole notion down with the 2 number 1s. I mean,
I will say that I'll give the Bears credit for that DJ Moore trade. That was one of the best
great
things
trade.
that they've done in like the last 2 decades.
They finessed the Panthers.
That was a great moment for the Bears. And DJ Moore showed this year that he is your guy's true
career year
number 1. Yep.
He had a career. A lot of people don't understand this. DJ Moore had a career year in Chicago this year.
Yeah.
And you know what the highest PFF rated quarterback to receiver combo in the NFL is?
It had
Fields
to Moore, right?
Well, it's all about chemistry too, though.
Yeah.
Those two like each other. They're friends.
And here's the thing. And Marvin Harrison Jr. Guess who he's known since high school? DJ Moore.
There's connection.
And all 3 of them have been all season long, the entire season. Fields and Moore and Harrison Jr. on Twitter, on Insta, and all that. They've been jabbering back and forth, getting together. They've already got a chemistry before they even draft the kid. So,
Fields hit 3,000
better watch your boy
yards.
Ryan, though. Does he know what he's doing?
I was going to say, he didn't hit 3,000 yards, right?
No, he missed 5 games this year. If he did not have an injury, he would have hit it.
DJ Moore is no hype. He is the real deal. Like Green Bay has like 1 million receivers, but I could confidently say if he came to Green Bay, he'd be the number 1 receiver immediately. he would be the best guy that we
now,
have.
Mike.
Immediately.
So you guys got that. That was a great trade, in my opinion, for the Bears. That was a great moment getting DJ Moore.
So I mean that's so now you add Marvin Harrison Jr. to that mix, dude. That should free Fields up to throw the ball more. And we know Fields can throw. He was at 2,600 yards this year, but he missed 5 games.
With the 9th pick, do you think that maybe you guys should look to get Brock Bowers, because you guys do need a solid tight end?
I said this the other day, and Ken said no, absolutely not.
Like Cole Kmet is not that dude. And then you guys picked up Robert Tonyan, who's a bum.
Okay, I might agree with the Tonyan thing. He didn't play great last year, sure.
And they got Big Dog too.
But Kmet, if you look at his PFF, I love when Nick makes these, because if you looked at Kmet's PFF grade, no, you haven't. You'd know that he's up there in the top 5 or 10 tight ends in the leagues, but he's a bum, right?
Real well for you guys,
There's
clearly.
PFF,
But Nick, his
PFF
PFF grade is so terrible. He's a bum.
But PFF grade isn't everything.
Hold on.
I
Let
didn't
Nick
say
defend.
Kmet was
Nick,
a bum.
how many drops did Kmet have last year?
I didn't say Kmet was a bum. I said that Kmet is not getting it done for you guys.
Why-
So maybe
well,
you should look to get a solid tight end like Brock Bowers.
I think he is a solid tight end already. I think he is a solid tight end. I
Brock
think
Bowers is generational talent potentially.
I said this.
They're
I
all
said,
generational
honestly, if they
potential.
took Marvin Harrison at 1 and Brock Bowers was on the board at 9, that they should run to the podium, because that literally gives you one of the best offenses in the NFL in one draft, dude.
I mean,
You
look,
can't give,
like,
You know
you
what?
can't
You
give
know
enough
what?
weapons.
I'm
You know
not
what?
going to disagree with what Joe just said there. Like, if he's available, if he's the best available at 9 and you haven't traded 9 away and he's there, do you take him? I'm not going to be completely against that, right? Because you're right, he would make you better with now you have these 2 awesome tight ends. Okay, now you're really cooking with something. And look, I'm a huge. I think Mercedes Lewis for $1 million is a steal because he blocks, and he basically don't have to hire a tight end coach. He's like a player coach, right? So I mean, that tight end room would be solid. I mean, so I agree, Joe. If he's there at 9 and you haven't traded it, why not? Right? But then again, if Joe Alt's there at 9, why not take Joe Alt either? So I think with the number 9 pick, it depends on what's at the board. That's why it's a draft day, right? Trade or keep kind of thing. Because if you're right, if Bowers is there, I wouldn't mind taking him. But if I can also though get a massive haul for number 9, I might pass on to take a huge haul on a team that wants to trade down to number 9. If I can pick up additional.
Well,
here's the thing that you do. Here's the thing that you do by drafting Brock Bowers. It's multiple things. Not only do you get another great blocker for your offensive line, but you get someone that can catch every pass, and you now are able to use a 2 tight end set in play action for Justin Fields. It makes sense, right? So you're doing a whole lot of things to help your offense by that 1 pick in Brock Bowers. You're creating a whole lot of hell for a lot of defenses. I think that's a more valuable pick right now for you guys.
If he's there, though, I wouldn't be against them taking him, Nick. You make a valid point with that. Now, as far as the O-line, okay, once again, God, I love being in a room full of non-Bears fans, and everyone think they watch because they don't. So guess who held the ball longest in the NFL this year? Who had the most time to hold the ball?
Justin Fields for like the 3rd year in a row.
But guess what? You got Bear fans. You got Bear fans in the comments that are saying you need a left tackle.
Yeah, but I'll get to that. So the quarterback who has the most time to hold the ball because he gets the protection is Patrick Mahomes. Number 2 is Justin Fields. The O-line is just fine. Our need on O-line isn't left tackle. Okay, your second-year guy has a down year compared to his breakout rookie year. He got a couple flags. But if you look at his PFF, he's good. Our weakest position on the O-line where we do need help is center, right? So O-line, wide receiver, edge, biggest needs, that's correct. In O-line, it's at the center position because we had the worst-rated center in the league. The rest of the O-line is actually pretty solid. So we need a center, we need a wide receiver, and we need an edge. I think that the edge is something that we're going to not draft. I think we're going to sign it, and then the wide receiver, we've already talked to death about Marvin Harrison Jr. And at number 9, do you take? I don't know if you've got there isn't a center in the draft worth taking at 9. I think though. Okay, Ezra, that's great that you think it's a stupid argument. It's true, He's He has the second most time in the league to hold the ball.
He
Why?
does hold
What does
the ball
that mean,
too long.
Ezra? That means that he has protection.
And
The
I'm
offensive
sure
line
Ken,
gives him the
I'm
time.
sure you would agree with this. Justin Fields takes a lot of unnecessary sacks because he holds the ball too long.
I think a lot of it was play calling because if you look downfield, no one's open. Or if
But
someone's
he's holding
open,
the ball
it's a
too
kid.
long.
Or but once again, though, people have to be open to throw the ball to, or you're just going to be throwing interceptions. So,
But why not throw the ball away instead of
Zach
taking
Wilson.
the sack? He seems to take
Well,
the sack
he
instead of
did
throwing
better.
it away.
So Nick, 2 years ago, you're more correct. Last year, he did throw the ball. He did get rid of the ball a lot more. Usually, if he was getting hit, it was blind side on a scheme where they let someone come unabated to him. If you look, most of the sacks that he took, if you literally look at the tape at the sacks that he took, it was basically like someone would come from his blind side unblocked, and that was more of an offensive play call than anything.
Hey, Ken, Ezra's giving you some grief, man.
Well, Ezra's stupid. Look at. I can already tell Ezra doesn't know what he's talking about when he says the offensive line is trash because he's wrong. It's not trash. We just need an upgrade at center because they obviously
he's extending the plays. He's a playmaker.
Yeah, he's
Your
a playmaker.
guys'
He's extending the
offensive
play.
line played a lot better than everyone thought they would this last
That's
year.
what
They
I'm
actually
saying.
improved.
And look at you've got one of the top run games. Our running game's been on point. You don't do that with a trash O line. You have to have a good O line to have a good run game. I mean, it's not the O line needs a center. Now there's some good centers out there in the draft around the third, fourth round. There isn't a center that'd be, oh my God, I got taken the first round. So at number 9, going back to what you said, Nick, about Brown, yeah, maybe you do that. Maybe though, if you can trade and get a haul. And there's, I wouldn't say he holds it too long though in terms of taking sacks. But then again, I think every quarterback has a play or two you can point to and say, "Oh, look, he held it too long."
Hey, Ken, I think
Packers
the argument for Bowers it's quite simple. I agree with Nick on this one because Bowers played for our local high school, so I got to watch this dude play. I got to watch this dude play live, and let me tell you, and then he went to Georgia. They almost won 3 national championships. The dude is the best tight end to come out in the draft in a while. I know Nick is a big Kyle Pitts fan. He felt like Kyle Pitts is the best. Yeah, he's like the best tight end he's ever seen. But to me, because of all the different things that Brock can do, I think I would rather have him because he's an excellent blocker. He's an excellent pass catcher. He runs great routes. Yeah, but there's talk that Bowers is going to the Chargers. You're right, bear down, Mike. But my thing was, if the Bears take Marvin Harrison at number 1, if that's your strategy, that's what you're going with, then if you take Brock, if Bowers is there at 9 and you take him, you now have a top 5 offense in the league right away, guaranteed. That's my thing.
That's if Bowers is there though at 9 though. That's I mean, and like I said, I don't disagree with Nick. If he's there at 9, look, you just gave Kmet good money, but you're right. Now you've got a guy on a rookie deal for 5 years that's super talented to pair with Kmet. I mean, you've got a great one, and then you pair that with Marvin Harrison Jr. at wide receiver. Man, you got some sets you can run, right? You got some
fire on your offense.
You definitely got some things that, hey, 52 years, that's awesome, Ezra. I've been a Bears fan for 51, so that's great.
And you know what, Ken?
Get all that just to find out Field suck.
As Packers fans watching our team hit on offensive linemen over and over and over again, you don't need a center right away. Why don't you take one in the 4th round? They usually pan out in the later rounds.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's. I agree with you, Nick. 3rd, 4th round is where you're going to get a center. Braxton Jones is not a bum. Look up his PFF grade. You'll see otherwise. I love guys like Ezra. So look, every fan base has it. Ezra is one of these people. We have negative Nancy's in every fan base. You've got Packer fans. No matter how good Jordan Love's doing, he's a bum. No matter how good Bakhtiari is doing, he's terrible.
Sean Clifford should start over Jordan Love. That's
I mean, Ezra is one of those guys. Lucas Patrick was a bum, and the PFF proves it. Braxton Jones, it was only in his 2nd year on his rookie contract. He still has a high PFF grade. He drew some extra penalties this year. He had a little bit of a drop off, but not a major one. Nate Davis is a bum. Nate Davis barely played because of injury, but when he did play, he was actually really good. If you look at this O-line, Ezra, if you really look at this O-line, it's a good O line. But PFF is garbage because they don't know anything, Ezra. You're
And you know
right.
what?
PFF
Ezra's
is
acting
garbage.
like you guys have like your guys' offensive line isn't that bad. It's not like
Well,
you have the Raiders'
I
offensive
guess-
line.
I
You know
guess
what I
we
mean?
know
Like,
one person
Hey,
who
hey, I
doesn't
just
if you
wanna
want
fully
to talk
trust
about
PFF.
bums, look at the
Right.
Raiders. Look
Hey,
at
I
the
just
Raiders'
wanna ask-
offensive line. That's
Hey, I just-
bums.
Could I just ask Ezra, if every player on your team is a bum, why do you support the team?
Yeah. Our line is super trash. So Ezra, you're a negative Nancy Bears fan. Got it. If they're not all Pro Bowler, first ballot Hall of Fame guys, they're trash.
Well,
And
you
PFF
should be
is
feeling
not-
all pros all the
Well,
time.
Wait,
What
I
the
got
hell?
Hold on.
Hey, I got an interesting question for the
guys.
whole panel. I want to get your guys' take on this. So, like, the Raiders pick at 13, right? So by the time they pick, it's pretty much a guarantee that the top 3 quarterbacks are going to be gone.
Get an
And
offensive lineman.
the Raiders' biggest need is a quarterback, right? Like, so what
I
do you do
disagree
at
with that.
13? What do you do at
They're-
13?
Offensive tackle. You go
Well-
offensive tackle. Your line is putrid. It's
Yeah.
horrible.
No, you
go
Actually,
off
our
the
line
get
was, actually, Nick, according to PFF, Ken's favorite stat, our line's
I
ranked
don't-
out at top 10.
I don't care about PFF. I watched you guys all year. Your offensive line is horrible, dude. You need an offensive tackle, and there are studs this year.
Are you
at
guys signing
offensive
Jacobs
tackle.
back? Are you guys signing Jacobs back, Joe?
I don't
No,
know.
they're
Yeah.
going to let him
If
go
you
to
ask
Yeah.
the
Joe,
So there's
if you ask
there-
Joe,
there-
Joe's
there-
going to
there-
draft
there's a-
Estime with the first pick.
No,
There's
I don't want
reports
Estime
out-
as the first pick, but I do want Estime in like probably the 3rd round.
I
I
don't think
wouldn't
he'll
mind.
last that long. I don't think he'll
Ezra,
last.
he wasn't the most
I would
sacked
take him in the
quarterback
second to
yesterday.
make
We
sure
get
that
it.
we
You
got
hate
him.
the Bears. Got it. Hey, for the Raiders,
Well,
on Josh Jacobs, there are reports that the Raiders want to keep him. I think though at 12, you can still find a quarterback talent. Your O line isn't bad overall. I mean, PFF is great as an overall. And look, let's face it, almost every line has at least one weak spot. For the Bears, for instance, the center positions are weak spots.
Ours
right?
is center too.
Yeah, so I mean, you're probably in that same free agent market we are, digging for a center, because overall your line's not bad. But I think if you guys keep Jacobs, and I think you will, you can still get a quarterback at 12 that's going to be
13, but yeah.
or 13,
13,
whatever.
mhm.
That's going to be okay.
No.
I don't think you have to move up because there's this draft class looks to be a little bit deeper. I mean, I think you're
Deep.
fine at 13 just
QB
taking a
class is
quarterback.
deep enough.
I think it's possible that
Okay,
Drake
so
May falls.
Ken says
Yeah,
take
you know what?
quarterback. So Ken, the Bear fan, says take quarterback. What about you, Ken, Packer fan?
Yeah, I gotta agree with the quarterback unless everybody's off the board that you really wanted. Don't go reaching for one. If the quarterbacks that you want are gone, I definitely agree with Nick about the left tackle. For the
We're not
offense,
gonna take him best available.
important positions.
Okay.
Either one you can't go wrong with.
I mean,
You
Joe,
could
before you go to Nick, though, before we go to Nick, Joe, I got to ask you a question. On your needs board, obviously quarterback is there. Let's assume that you re-sign Josh Jacobs. What are your other, oh my God, I got to have it needs, because I think that's going to affect Nick's answer.
Linebacker.
Okay. Well, see what I was
Chicago
what
doesn't
I
have
was,
a
I
developed
was trying to get
quarterback,
all of
does
your
it?
opinions because I already have like what I would want to do. Personally, like to me, our
I know,
biggest
Joe,
need-
you want to draft
to me,
a punter.
to me, our biggest need besides quarterback is defensive tackle. Like
Mhm.
we need a pass
I
rushing
was
defensive
about to
You
tackle.
guys
say.
need a
So
linebacker,
I would like,
man.
Yeah.
so I would like to take Jerzan Newton from Illinois or Murphy from Texas at 13.
Your guys'
And then in the
linebackers
second
keep
round,
flopping.
if Michael Penix is still there, I would take Michael Penix in the second
Good,
round or
man.
Bo Nix if they're still
No,
there.
Jair's not going nowhere.
Like
No.
what? They already said
Um,
Jair's going nowhere, man. He's
He's
staying.
already
I
been
also,
That's
happy.
the cornerstone right there.
think we need.
And
I also think we need linebacker depth, or
I'll be back
possibly
in
an
1 second,
upgrade
guys.
over Divine Diablo.
Yep.
So I would like to get Jeremiah Trotter Jr. From
Your guys'
Clemson.
linebackers keep flopping, man. I
Trot-
feel like
Trotter
that's what
is
your
coming to
biggest
Green
need.
Bay.
Well, you know what?
Actually, Spillane had a really good season, Nick.
He's not great
Diablo
though.
is the
He's
weak
not, he's
link.
not one of
Diablo
those
is the weak
top-notch
link.
guys that you keep forever. He's not one of your franchise linebackers. You guys need someone that actually is established, solid for a long time.
Which is why I just said I would like to get Jeremiah Trotter Jr. In the second round. I would like to get Trotter because I think
Crazy, Ezra.
Well,
Hey,
you know
you
what?
see that
you know
shit?
what? Hang on. You know, Joe, I was gonna say the same thing as you talking about defense, but personally, I'm thinking, yeah, that would be a good call. But do you think you might want to consider somebody who can complement Max Crosby as far as that edge rusher ordeal? Because I don't think the guy you drafted was doing so good for him.
Yeah.
No, no.
Mm-mm.
So look, what happened is we drafted Tyree Wilson as a defensive end, and he was injured when we drafted him. And I wasn't a huge fan of the pick. And then when they started him at defensive end, I was even more not a fan of the pick. But then they moved him inside, and so now our defensive line is actually Crosby on the edge, Kuntz on the edge, and Kuntz had 8 sacks. He came on last year. So I like the development of Kuntz. That's why I say I want Jerzan Newton or Byron. I think it's Murphy from Texas, is because if we can get a pass rushing defensive tackle, we can keep Tyree Wilson inside, and he's actually a pretty decent defensive tackle. Now our defensive line is Kuntz, Crosby, Newton, and Tyree Wilson, and it's a top 3 defensive line in football, in my opinion.
I actually think Green Bay faces a similar problem where I've said this all year. Personally, I think Van Ness should move inside. I think he needs to stop being outside. I think he's actually better inside on the defensive line.
Well, now
Well, we're about to be a
that goes
4-3, Nick,
to
so
me-
you might
to
get your
me-
wish.
I think
To
he's
me, that
faster. I
depends
think
on-
he's stronger. I think he's good enough to be inside and stop the run. Whereas outside, like he's still good outside, but that's not where we need help. We don't need help outside
Mhm.
rushing. We already
need run
have enough of
stuffer.
these guys.
Run
I need
stuffer.
dude. Van Ness is great when he plays inside on the line. He's always great at it. Why don't we
Well,
move him like they
so
did
then-
Wilson?
with us
So then
switching
another
the,
thing is like, oh,
Yeah.
go ahead.
If I was
With us
to
switching-
speak
oh,
on
yeah.
this, sorry, but I was saying if I was to speak on this, there's chances are, depending on what we're going to look like with this new look defense, with this new defensive coordinator we got coming in, you might see some changes to
Yeah,
guys at certain positions.
and when to put someone like Van Ness inside now, right? Like this
I'm
is
in
a
agreement with
whole.
Cody.
Either that, or he's going to be positioned as a defensive end, just like
That-
Rashawn Gary and Preston Smith
Yeah,
will be.
That's what I'm going with. It is, I think as a defensive end, he would be an absolute game wrecker. I think he was slightly playing out of position as an outside linebacker too, but now to me, being a 4-3 end or the 4-2-5 end, that's kind of the hybrid in between them. Granted, I know it's a more traditional spot, but kind of the cross between the pass rusher versus the hand
So,
of the
If he's
And I've
playing,
been
if
saying
he's
for a
playing
while
DN,
that you guys could put Rashawn Gary's hand in the dirt and make him a defensive end. I've been saying that for a while.
Mhm.
if he's in the 4-3 playing a traditional D end, you could
Mhm.
also at the times that Devontae Wyatt's not on the inside, you could move him inside
Yeah.
and then bring him
Okay.
back outside again. See what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
I would be more than happy with that one because Devontae Wyatt, I'm very high on his pass rushing ability.
So
Hey, so
Mhm.
let me ask you guys this then. So we were talking about what the Raiders should do at 13, right? Like a lot of
Mhm.
people want, a lot of Raider fans especially, but most of the pundits
So a
think
lot
that
of
we should
idiots.
try to trade up and try to get one of the top 3 quarterbacks, right? I'm not in that camp. I think that it's too expensive when you still have holes on the roster to try to
Yep.
trade up and get a quarterback. So and plus, my other thought is that Antonio Pierce just got signed, to a deal. It's probably a 3-year deal, like a standard coaching deal. So if he makes that jump and takes a quarterback, his entire coaching tenure is going to be tied to that one draft pick.
his
and if
career
it fails,
will lie
he's
on the
out.
shoulders of this new quarterback. that you
Exactly.
draft high.
His whole career, his coaching career with the Raiders is tied to that one draft pick. So my thought is, I would rather take a guy like Bo Nix or Penix if he's available in the second round, and if he doesn't show anything, then next year you take another bite at the apple. I would rather
But-
give AP 2 or 3 bites at the apple
But
rather
you know
than
what?
one big bite.
There's so many names at quarterback this year.
Mhm.
That at
Personally, I
13,
think
someone like
Bo Nix
Daniels or
falls
Drake
to you
May,
guys.
someone like Drake May or Daniels could fall in
Could
your
be
lap
there.
at 13.
Yeah.
There's so many quarterbacks at this point.
Well, and there's the other thing. I don't know how the Raiders are on cap space overall, but you've got some like Max Crosby. You've got big money on. So
Yep.
the thinking is like I've got some holes, but I'm not that bad of a team. I'm a playoff worthy team if I get a quarterback maybe I do something in free agency to plug another big hole. Because now they're saying, look, we're not getting rid of Devontae. So you've got two big money guys, Devontae and Max Crosby. Well, you want to use them. You don't want to have, so I could see them taking the quarterback at 13. And Nick's right. Drake may fall. I mean, look, we still have free agency and we still have the combine.
Actually, Max Crosby's contract, he only makes $19 million a year, dude. We signed him at a good
only 19.
Okay, only right, but compared to other defensive ends, look at Joey Bosa's making 30, Khalil Mack is making 30. Like he makes $19 million. That's for a top 3 defensive end in the league. That's a steal. Personally,
but you see what I'm saying. But Joe, but even at that though, you see what I'm saying though. He's still. You've got a finite amount of time with him in that contract. So
he's a big money player, but the Raiders are going to have right now, like, I think they're going to have about 40, maybe 50 million, close to 50 million in cap space. So there's moves to be made in free agency if somebody actually is, wants to come. Which I think it'll be a more interesting with AP as the coach. I think he'll be able to draw more free agents than we traditionally have been. I think people are excited about what's going on.
Yeah, let's get. I want to hear what Dom wants to do. But first, I want to address this elephant real quick. Where the Raiders should have kept Armstead. They're stupid for getting rid of him. That was a terrible choice, and he balled out yesterday. So Dom, who do you want the Dirty Birds to take?
I'm high on Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels.
Okay. We need a quarterback.
You're not
You've
a Ritter
seen.
fan?
Oh Lord, no! Like I thought he was gonna do something, but I don't know. I'm not an Arthur Smith fan. I'm glad he's gone too. So, but Jesus, Ritter just let us down. Like the fumbles, the interceptions, his red zone, terrible red zone read and everything. So we need a quarterback to overvault us, and I believe our weapons would our stars would be better in everything.
Hang on. You talking about somebody being a Falcons fan? Would you also consider wanting to find somebody who complements AJ Terrell at corner too?
Oh Lord, yes. That's the second. I was going to address that too. That's the second thing we need. Oh, I like that. I seen him on our mocks. He's been in our mocks.
Kool-Aid McGinty, kudos to your parents for giving you such a good name. I mean, come on, man. Kool-Aid.
You had a chance at the league because your name is so cool, man.
That's it. I mean, but you know what though? Think about this is a good year to be a new coach hire. And I want to go back up to what I think it was Ezra.
Crosby isn't going anywhere. I think everybody knows Crosby isn't going anywhere.
Yeah, Crosby's staying.
The Raiders would give you a child.
Ezra said this is why. Look, Ezra said this is why Chicago keeps recycling quarterbacks.
Is he talking about your offensive line?
Well,
That's
no,
why
but
you're recycling quarterbacks?
No. Well, if you let me get to it, you'll hear why I'm just saying that, Nick. It ties in with this this coaching thing. So you got a lot of these guys like the Dirty Birds have a new head coach, the Raiders have a new head coach. That's when they get their quarterback, and I think that the other reason why Justin is for sure staying in Chicago is because Eberflus is in Chicago. Now, if Eberflus gets fired, you could say that then Justin's going to go with him. And I think that's true the way the league is right now. I think, Pierce is going to get his quarterback, and he's going to get 3 years with his quarterback. I think that, the same thing's going to happen in Atlanta. The same thing's going to happen in a lot of these cities where you've got a new head coach and they're quarterback needy. Whatever quarterback they get, that quarterback and that head coach for 3 years max are tied together. And the thing is, I think you need to give them at least 3 years or 4 years in that system together to make the decision to jettison or to keep them. But let's face it, that's the NFL these days. I think all these teams are looking for quarterbacks, like the Patriots, like the Commanders, like Atlanta, like the Raiders. They all have new head coaches. They all need quarterbacks. They're probably all four going to take a quarterback in the first round of the draft.
Yep.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying because let's be honest. If Jordan Love doesn't pan out, Matt LaFleur is not the coach anymore, right?
Hell no.
I think he's shown to Jordan Love's success at this point. You know what I mean?
So
that's just being it all those years in that system. That's what that proves.
Well, but whose
it
system
proves
is
Matt
it, though?
LaFleur's system.
Yeah.
Well, fellas, I was going to say, you speak about that. This year was definitely an evaluation year for LaFleur anyway, for us to see how good of a coach he was.
Yeah. But
Like if Like if Jordan Love himself didn't pan out, it would that would have been tied to LaFleur.
Yeah, it's
Well,
LaFleur's head.
think
And at
about
the
this.
beginning of the
Like,
year,
and the reason, I'm sorry, but the reason I say that is going to be coming down to this. Think about the most criticism Green Bay has had. It was a matter of people say Matt LaFleur's success was strongly predicated on him having
On Aaron
Rodgers for a
Rodgers.
QB.
yeah.
Exactly. So
And so-
I don't know
things
who needs
like-
a 9-volt battery, but you got me walking around my house checking my fire and smoke detectors now.
At the beginning of the year, there was all these posts coming out saying, "Is Matt LaFleur on the hot seat?" Because they didn't get it done the year before with Aaron Rodgers. All of a sudden, it started looking like, is Matt LaFleur good enough to be the head coach for the Green Bay Packers? If Jordan Love didn't play the way that he did this year, and he ended up being an absolute bust and a waste of time, Matt LaFleur is out the door. That's all there is to it.
For sure.
I
For sure.
agree, but with this caveat, because if Love sucked, there's two ways you can evaluate whether the coach's system is good or the player just freaking sucks. If Love had thrown a bunch of crappy footballs, like the receiver's wide open, but he puts the ball 5 yards away and intercepted, then that's not as much as LaFleur's system being bad as Love being bad. But that's not what happened. But once they had that did happen. I think Love might have been, Love wasn't the guy we thought was, but I don't think LaFleur, the smart football people say, yeah, but look, dude, LaFleur's offense works because the guys are open, just the quarterback couldn't get it to him. Like, we have a shitty quarterback, let's go get a new one. I don't think last year was like a make or break in terms of that, but it does make it easier when your quarterback does hit what your coaches are telling him to hit. And conversely, you look at the Bears situation. We've seen the constant improvement on Fields throughout his
Agreed,
career.
bear down, Mike.
But you can't. I agree with Mike to a degree on that. I think the other degree is you look at our offensive play calling last year. The play calling got called out by Fields. It got called out by a certain wide receiver who now plays in Miami. Players were calling out the coaching and the bad offensive scheme. So this year, Fluss is probably on the hot seat. The other reason why Fluss kept his job is his defense. His defense went from worst to one of the best in the league in a year, and that's directly tied to Fluss on the other side. So, but going back to that original argument, like for Atlanta, for the Raiders, for the Commanders, for New England, they're probably all going to take a quarterback, because when you get your head coach, that's usually when you take a quarterback. Very rarely do you lose your head coach and keep a quarterback, unless you're the Bears and you draft a quarterback and fire a coach next year. That's just stupid. And luckily, I think we're breaking that trend.
I gotta see what Eberflus can do without Luke Getsy completely ruining your offense. Like, I have to see what he can do on his own without giving the reins to someone like Getsy, which was just a terrible choice to begin with. His
Don't say
offensive
that,
play
man,
calling is stale. It's
Don't
stale.
say that, Luke, because he's the new Raiders offensive coordinator.
Bro, he sucks, bro. He sucks.
That's why I want to know what the hell were the Raiders
And Cody,
The Bears are like, good riddance.
Yeah, I know, right? And answer Cody's question, it's like, well, you look at the coaches they brought in this year. The new Shane, our new offensive coordinator, the new QB coach who's worked with Russ, who's worked with Geno Smith, and those guys have had good careers. I mean, the whole offensive or defensive coach, I think that made a distinction in the argument we were having in terms of what Nick was saying with LaFleur. LaFleur's an offensive-minded coach, so the offense is 100% on him, whereas Fluss is a defense coach, so the defense is 100% more on him. You expect those guys, whether they were a OC or DC prior, that if you were an OC prior and you're now a head coach, your offense should be phenomenal. If you were a DC prior and now you're a head coach, you should have a good defense. No one goes to Andy Reid and said, well, your defense must be fired or you're a bad head coach, Andy Reid. No, because he's always been an offensive coach. That's how these guys are judged. So it's not that you're trusting Eberflus to develop a quarterback in Chicago. You're trusting that Eberflus is going to hire the appropriate OC and coaching staff to do that. And I hate to say it, Rob, because Getsy just was not the guy. he was not the guy. His play calling was minus 3 yard pass back type stuff. He didn't push the ball enough. Now look it. Now does Getsy learn from his mistakes in Chicago when he goes to Vegas? Maybe.
No, he's digging his heels in.
But
to me, it seems like that's the philosophy he likes to run. Is these short passes that are all run after the catch shit. And if you don't have super phenomenal athletes all over, it's not going to work how he's drawn it up.
Yeah.
Well, good news for us is our wide receiver core is actually really good.
Yeah, well,
that's one of the strengths of our team.
When you got Adams, that'll do it. Believe us, we know.
I mean,
but it's not just Devontae, though. Jacoby Myers Jacoby Myers.
Jacoby Myers was a great pickup for you guys, man.
Yeah. And then you got Trey Tucker, who's our speed gadget guy, and he's also a pretty good deep threat. But it doesn't seem like Getsy throws the ball deep much, does it?
He doesn't.
No.
And I think for a team that needs a quarterback, I think he's a terrible addition for you guys. Now, look, if you guys get a good quarterback coach to go with them, maybe better. But I think Getsy gets too much credit because he spent so much time with Aaron Rodgers. But Aaron Rodgers was just good.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers didn't need any coaching at that point in his career.
Getsy gets credit for just being by a good guy.
Yeah,
like Getsy's getting credit for being a good coach because he was by a good quarterback. I think.
Well, I mean, it's kind of looking like the same thing with Hackett too.
Yeah. I mean,
when he's been on his own, he has looked horrendous. With us in the perfect situation of LaFleur over your shoulder and Rodgers being the guy on the field, he looked fucking outstanding. But how much of that was LaFleur and Rodgers?
Joe, the Raiders have always been my AFC team. I've been a Raiders fan since shit. They've always been my AFC team. You know this. You and I have talked about in the past. I go back with the Raiders. And I have to say, man, for the Raiders, this was the worst hire in the last 30 years.
Oh, yeah. See, I
Josh McDaniels.
I'm hoping. I think Josh McDaniels was the worst hire in the last 30 years.
Okay, so maybe the second worst. Yeah, McDaniels. I don't know why they gave McDaniels. McDaniels came in and killed Denver's franchise. Now he came in and killed Vegas. But I mean, you get rid of McDaniels. Now we finally get a good coach since Chucky's left, and they should have never gotten rid of Chucky. I don't care about the controversy, that they should have never gotten rid of Chucky.
Well,
but now Chucky's gone. You get a Raiders guy in Pierce. You get a Raiders guy. Like, you get a guy who's just like, Al would have approved of. And then what do? You saddle him with one of the worst OCs in the NFL.
Well, I totally agree. I wasn't a fan of the hire. But we have to just wait and see. One good thing that I have seen is that Marvin Lewis is an assistant head coach on our staff. I like that. And then they got Hugh Jackson as an offensive, like an assistant. He's not our offensive coordinator, but he's an offensive assistant. And Hugh Jackson, he gets a bad rap because of his head coaching stint in Cleveland. But let's be honest, Hugh Jackson is a hell of an offensive coordinator. He's just not a good head coach. So I think that he's going to have some input on Getsy's offense. I think that he'll help him with some because one thing that Hugh Jackson does well is scheme to the strength of his players. That's why our offense, when he was our head coach, was good with McFadden and Jason Campbell and stuff, is because he knew how to use guys like Denarius Moore. So I'm hoping, and this is just a hope, I'm hoping that Hugh Jackson can have somewhat of a say in how the offensive scheme goes, that we're not just going to run screens all the time, because screens are effective, but at the same time, when you're running 15, 20 screens a game, eventually they figure it out and you just start getting tackle for loss.
I think, Joseph, that's the other thing. Like, having Hugh Jackson, he was a great OC. That's how he became a head coach, right? Because obviously he was a great OC. I think that's an advantage that Getsy has over in Chicago, was everyone was a first time at their, he's a first time OC. We had a first time defensive coordinator, a first time head coach. We had a lot of first time coaches underneath him. I think he's surrounded by better seasoning coaching wise than what he had in Chicago. But I still think it was a bad hire for the Raiders. But once again, I think you're right. I think what you'll find out happening is you're going to get more influence of Jackson. Like Jackson's going to be the guy who's actually going to end up designing this offense because they're going to go in their meeting and it's going to be his design. And Getsy's going to get the credit for it. And he's going to get – and look, if the Raiders do well with it and Getsy gets a head coach job, mark my words, record this now, he will bomb as a head coach because he'll use Jackson's floor plan to build this offense. And then he'll take the credit for it just like he took the credit for Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay.
What's going on, D? Raider Nation, baby?
Yeah. I wonder if Getsy has shown around the league that, he's got some kind of good ideas in there, and it's just he's got a lot of dumb shit, too, that he likes to run. And with now pairing him with Jackson and that, they're going to say, hey, this is stupid as shit. Why the hell are you putting this in? Where in Chicago, because, like you said, the inexperience – nobody wanted to speak up about that matter and just, oh, yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah. Well, no. Look at Justin spoke up on it and took it back. And even, oh, crap, what's the wide receiver we traded him?
One thing I can say for sure is that if the offense comes out and doesn't look good, AP is not going to stand for that. Like, he will get in Getsy's face and he will tell him, dude, fix your shit or you're fired. And he'll just promote Hugh Jackson to offensive.
Oh,
I wish.
Okay, now he's back.
Honestly, I wish he would have done from the beginning. I wish he would have just hired Hugh Jackson as the offensive coordinator because I think that that would have been a better hire. Without him having influence over draft picks or, not head coaching, just give him the OC job. I think that would have been better. But I think that's what's ultimately going to probably happen. I think the Raiders offense will be with Getsy may not be very good and it'll be very quick. AP is going to be like, dude, get your shit together or Hugh's taking over. Dude, I wouldn't be put it this way. I wouldn't be surprised if Hugh takes over offensive play calling before the season's over.
I think this is a legit comment from Mike too. His script, if you look at his scripted plays in the first quarter, even in Chicago, he was pretty good on script, but when it came to going off script, he was pretty horrendous last year. He didn't help Justin out. He didn't help the wide receivers out. We were happy to. I've been calling for him to be fired in Chicago since week 6. So when they fired him, everyone in Chicago was happy. I don't know. Maybe he does better with the Raiders with having some other guys like Hugh Jackson around him that he did in Chicago, but honestly, I don't think so. I think I agree more with your assessment that somewhere in the year, Hugh Jackson's going to take over and Getsy will be gone. Because, I couldn't believe when they hired him. It's some guys, when they leave a position, when Matt Nagy, when we fired Nagy and went back to KC, said, okay, and you look at yesterday, you can tell Nagy's a very good offensive coordinator. He just isn't a good head coach. And there are guys like that. And with Getsy, maybe he's a good position coach. He just isn't a good coordinator.
Yeah. Because, hey, we saw that with Joe Barry.
Maybe,
he was a phenomenal linebacker.
And also, and you know what?
Go ahead, A-Dub.
I remember a certain Bears fan said that if Getsy knew what kind of quarterback he was working with, he'd do better with his play calling, saying that the first thing he needed to realize is that Justin Fields is not the same as Aaron Rodgers, that you can't give him the kind of play calls you give Rodgers.
I think, though, the problem with Getsy's offense from watching all these games, and I don't miss a Bears game, his routes that he designs, his route design, and DJ Moore can get open, right? These guys get open. They get separation. They've been able to get separation in a lot of places until they came to Luke Getsy's offense. His routes hinder him, and they're very easy to cover. He doesn't get – his route design is terrible. They make it simple to cover up DJ Moore. They made it simple to cover up Darnell Mooney. They made it simple to take the tight end out of the receiving game for the most part. His play calling – his design is just wasn't good in Chicago because look, he has some, Fields has some weapons, and when those weapons were available, yeah, he connects. The problem is when the guy's got 6 seconds and you look at the film and like, well, where's he going to throw the ball? There's nowhere to put it. Or if the guy is open, he's on, Justin's now on the left hash because the design play is to move him to the left hash, but the guy's on the right end line, right touch line, 30 yards downfield. By the time the ball gets there, that's a 50-50 ball at best, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I think Getsy's design is what hurt him. So hopefully, they're running the same routes, multiple guys on the same route. There's no disguising anything. It's very vanilla. So hopefully Hugh Jackson for Joe's, mental stability. Hopefully his route design, his play design improves in Vegas over what he was doing in Chicago, because it was terrible. It was just terrible. And then the Raiders.
I anticipate Hugh Jackson being the offensive coordinator probably by like week 10.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm with you 100%. But I mean, I think when we go back to what you were first asking, though. I mean, look, you guys are going to have to get a quarterback, and Dominic, you guys are going to get a quarterback, and there's going to be a lot of quarterbacks in the first round this year because. Here's a funny thing. Did anyone hear this? I saw an article. It said next year's quarterback draft class appears to be weak. Therefore, teams who need a quarterback are going to be even hungrier this year to get one than they normally would have been. I want to call bullshit on that because wasn't that the argument we heard last year too?
No, I didn't see that article, but I have been hearing, and going back to last year, how great this year's draft class was. But now I've heard for the next upcoming year a few times that it doesn't seem like there's too great of prospects, that if you're looking for a quarterback, now's the year to go for them.
Well, they said that last year too, though.
Last year, I heard a bunch of it saying that it was good.
Yeah, I'm thinking that draft class with Kenny Pickett and them in it, that had to be the worst one to come out.
Yeah, that was an awful one. That was terrible.
And Pickett was the only first rounder at 20. Yeah.
I thought last year, other than Stroud, I thought last year's draft class too was just
terrible. Like, I agree.
The fact that Anthony Richardson is going that high, that's how bad the draft class was. That's a terrible pick.
But I thought Richardson played okay for what
I know, and we've already talked about this, Joe, and I showed you the stats. You guys thought that he was great. He really wasn't. He really was not great in any way. His stats were terrible.
But you didn't hear me say that. You didn't hear me say I thought Anthony Richardson played great. You heard me say I thought he played okay.
Yes, I did. I heard you and Isaac say that on my show together.
I said he played all right for considering the circumstances.
Great. You said that he played great, and I heard it.
Okay, well, I saw some things that I liked from him. Put it that way. Like okay. I don't think he's gonna be a complete bust.
Well, this is why I love my friend Joe, because we have a lot of opposing views and we talk on the phone besides the show like all the time about this kind of stuff. I was not a big fan of Anthony Richardson, but you know what?
If you look at the whole
wasn't a big fan of Rashawn Gary, and Joe was right about that one. So
I told you Gary was going to be a baller. But if you look at last year's quarterback class, the only one that I really thought had a chance of being like a good quarterback was Stroud. But Levis actually surprised me too. Like I thought Levis did pretty well.
Yeah,
I was thoroughly impressed with him because I thought Levis was going to be crap.
I thought Levis was going to be an interception machine, and he turned out to, he's got a good arm, dude. Like he's
a quarterback that I was always high on, and nobody else really was Hooker, TJ Hooker. I thought, I was like, dude, this guy has all the tools.
There are Lions fans who want Hooker to start next year already.
We know. We had an argument about it.
They're starting to finally see what I saw when he was drafted. I was like, dude, I think this guy has the tools to be an NFL quarterback. He looks good.
Hendon Hooker, he had the tools. I thought he could, but his injury history was concerning. Hendon Hooker.
Wow.
His injury history was concerning.
Like an idiot.
I think Detroit needs to draft a wide receiver named Coke or Blow, so you have Hooker and Blow, or Hooker and Coke. I mean, come on, it fits Detroit so well.
If I'm
or Gamble, Hooker and Gamble, they need because they love to gamble with Dan Gamble, their head coach. Hooker and Gamble or something like that. I mean,
If I'm
you
the
get Kool-Aid,
Lions, I'm looking to move up in this draft and get someone like Kool-Aid. You need a defensive back. Like, you need one of those guys. I think that would be a great move by them.
So
and, Chicago might
Detroit's
do that.
secondary
Nine,
was a weakness.
I think that's another thing, with Eddie Jackson being basically gone from Chicago, I think if we don't be a free agency or trade, I think you might see the Bears at 9. If there's a good corner or safety there that's worthy of the 9 pick, the Bears might make that. Or if they move back, let's say they deal with the Raiders, and the Raiders say, hey, we want to jump up to 9 because the quarterback we want's there, and then we jump back to 13 and we can pick up Kool-Aid and McGinty. I think the Bears would do that. So,
for example, if you guys draft Marvin Harrison Jr.
I was going to
the
say
Cardinals
that for you,
trade
Ken.
out of their pick because of that, they might be looking to trade back in on the 9 pick. They'll probably give you a lot. They'll probably give you a next year's second round or first round. And let's be honest, the Cardinals are not going to be great next year. Still a good move, right?
It could be, yeah.
Hey, isn't Goff's contract up? Doesn't he have is it up this year?
This year, I believe it's up.
This is his last year on his contract. This year.
The contract.
So
that's why they drafted Hooker, I believe.
That's another question. Do the Lions roll ahead with Hooker and let Goff
I think
go?
Hooker's their guy. I think they're sold on Hooker.
Yeah. Then they sent him because of his injury, right? This year they didn't really. He got injured, right? His ACL or something.
No, Hooker didn't. Hooker just didn't see the field because Goff played the whole field.
Okay.
I think that the Lions are willing to go roll the dice with Hooker. I think that they think that that's their guy for the future. Goff is a temporary solution. I think they're going to roll with Hooker. I don't think that they're looking for a quarterback.
It's just crazy to me that the dude takes you to the NFC title game and then you don't extend him.
I know, right?
Yeah. He's 30, right? He's 30 years old, 31.
Yeah,
dude, but that's
he still got 5 years of good quarterback play.
At least, if not more. The quarterbacks in this league can play to they're almost 40.
But with the team that they had, it's not crazy that Jared Goff was there for the NFC Championship game. Their whole team in general is great. They have a great motivator in their coach. They just have so many great pieces. It's not crazy to think that maybe Goff isn't going to get us to the promised land after next year. Like, if they don't make it, let's roll the dice with Hooker. We still got a really young team, a good, established, great team. I could see it happening. I really could.
And because of the cap space, that you could get by moving off of Goff, it makes sense.
Because Goff's looking for $30+ million easily. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm thinking probably 40+ if he's looking at. I just took you to the NFC title game,
And that's not viable, is it? It's not a viable way of success.
It's not. No, I don't think it is. But it's just crazy to me that Goff is going to end up. He's that guy that just has never found a home in the NFL. He's never found.
He's a good quarterback. It's not like he's a bad quarterback. He is a good quarterback. He's not worth the $40+ million, in my opinion. He's not one of those guys.
Is he a likable guy though too?
That's the thing though, is that that's what I'm saying. He's that guy that he's not without talent. He's a fringe top 10 guy. And so he just has never been able to find a team that's been willing to be like, you're our guy and we're going with you no matter what. Because look for example, Joe Burrow, right, or Josh Allen.
You can't be without Joe Burrow or Josh Allen. Right? You can't.
No, but what I'm saying is you could offer the Buffalo Bills 5 first-round picks right now for Josh Allen. And they'd laugh in your face. They'd laugh in your face, right?
But you could offer the Lions that for Jared Goff, and they go, please hurry up and get
absolutely.
I think you could offer the Lions a first and some change, and they'd get off Goff. To be honest with you,
this is what I don't get though. Goff is a proven commodity who's good.
He's
a quarterback. He's overall a really good quarterback. He's been to a Super Bowl. He's been to multiple NFC championships now.
Yeah.
And Lions fans are get rid of him because we want to go with an unproven, never played a snap in the NFL, Hendon Hooker. What the fuck
I get
are
your
you
logic,
smoking?
Ken, but at the same time, this is also the guy that they got rid of, brought in a different quarterback, and won the Super Bowl immediately. I think that there's a lot to be said for that. He's also possibly the reason, other than Dan Campbell. I'm gonna put that NFC Championship loss on Dan Campbell. But Goff played like shit in the second half. He didn't prove to anybody that he should be the guy.
Okay, but
Goff, he's had the same issue his whole career. Is
Goff is
once,
that guy
once
that's
you pressure him, he starts coughing it up or making terrible decisions.
but look at you
Goff
just
to
had.
me is that guy
think
that's
about-
always the bridesmaid, never the bride. You know what I
Let me
mean?
ask you this, Ken, real quick before you say what you're going to say. Let me ask you this, Ken, because I think this is very telling of where Jared Goff is in his career. Would you rather today have Jordan Love or Jared Goff? Because for me, I'd rather have Jordan Love immediately.
So for your offense, I'd keep Jordan. But here's what I was going to say.
Is that not telling,
You had-
though, where
hold
Jared
on,
Goff
hold
is
on,
in
hold
his
on,
career?
Hold on, Nick. You just had your best season in Detroit in over 3 decades with Goff. He did something you haven't done in over 32 years, won 2 playoff games. 2, not 1, but 2. You had the best record that you had in the regular season since 1991, 92, something like that. And you're saying get rid of the quarterback for a guy who's never played a snap in the NFL? What fucking drugs are they doing up there in Detroit? Are they
You're
smoking the
saying you're
crack
talking
that
about
hard?
Lions fans. When you say you're saying, you're talking about Lions fans.
Yeah.
Immediately
Now,
saying
look,
get rid
now
of him.
with Jordan Love, I think it's a different scenario though. Jordan Love sat behind Rodgers for 3 years. He knows his offense like no one else on that team does probably. And now look, if you had asked me this at the beginning of last season, who would I rather have? I would have told you Goff.
It would
Now
have been
for your
Goff
offense,
immediately.
right? For your offense, after seeing how what Jordan Love did last year, Jordan Love fits your style of offense better than Goff does.
I only
But
asked that
Goff-
question because to me, it's very telling of where Jared Goff is in his career, where he's replaceable. See what I'm saying? He's very replaceable.
I'll be honest with you. Like, if somebody could get the Lions GM on the phone, I would be like, dude, I'll give you a first and a third for Goff right now for the Raiders. We'll give you the 13 pick, and we'll give you a next year's third
And
for
he'd
Goff.
be good
Right?
for you guys. He'd be serviceable. He'd be a good quarterback for the Raiders. He would do something that you guys haven't had in a while.
I think if the Raiders were to make that trade, they're a playoff team today.
But just to jump inside the conversation that you're talking about right now, the Raiders could go to the Packers and go, I'll give you a first and third for Love, and they'd go, ha, yeah, okay. You see what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm saying? What I'm getting at?
Well, yeah,
Jared
but the
Goff
circumstances are different, Nick.
I know,
because
but Jared
Love is
Goff
on a
very
rookie
much
contract.
so is.
Love is on a rookie contract,
No, he's
and his
not.
ceiling is.
No, he's not.
Oh no, he's not. Right.
No, they extended him. I think.
They extended him last year with that 2-year deal.
But they're going to have to extend him again. So
yeah, they're going to have to extend him again.
His ceiling is obviously higher than Goff's, so I think the Packers know, they see the trajectory. There's no way they're going to trade Love, but with Detroit, if you're not sold, if you're thinking of moving on from Goff, like
then they would do it.
I think they would do it
to
in
me,
first and a third. Why not? Like,
to me,
if
Jared
you
Goff
feel you already
very
have the
much
guy on your
so-
roster, if you feel Hooker is going to be that guy going forward, why not
I
take the
think he
first
could
and the
be.
third and dump the cap space?
I think Hendon Hooker really could be that guy.
Mhm.
I've seen it. I've seen it in this guy. He's talented. Now, I'm going to make this comparison. I think it hits. I think it hits very well. To me, Jared Goff very so much is like Kirk Cousins. He's you don't want to be without him because your team will succeed in many ways with this guy, but you know that you're never going to win.
Nah, I can't get that
Yeah,
big game.
You're never going to win the Super Bowl with this guy. See what I'm saying? He's replaceable.
I think that will, like, on this argument, like, would you do that with Jordan Love? I don't think the Raiders would actually take that trade right now either, because I think they want to see, okay, he had a good first year as a starter. How's he looking in his second full year as a starter before I'd make that commitment as the Raiders about make that trade with Goff? I think they would make the trade because Goff is a good commodity. He's proven it over multiple years.
Yep.
I think with Jordan Love, like, look, Packer fans should be high in the hog on Jordan Love right now. He had a good season.
And I know what you're going to say because you made a great argument on one of the shows before. I think it was Friday. Once the defenses have film on Jordan Love, he might not be as good as he was that first year. I agree with that.
Is there going to be a drop off? So that's why I think, like, right now, Green Bay doesn't want to make the trade because they want to see, do I have something that's legit that's going to be long term? The Raiders wouldn't want to make the trade because they got to say, well, you had a good first year. Am I paying too much money for a guy who just happened to have a good year? And with the Lions, I think they'd be stupid to move off from Goff, right? 'Cause we know Goff can get to a Super Bowl. He's gotten to a Super Bowl before, right? But And even the Super Bowl, he should have won that Super Bowl. It was a bunk play, a bogus ass miss, a big ass missed call that really you could say Goff could have won that Super Bowl. So I think that the tools for Goff are there. I think that that Lion fans though, who've been calling to go straight to Hendon Hooker, who's never played a snap in the NFL, versus a guy who's a proven winner in the league, who puts up good numbers and puts you in a position to not only be competitive but to win. Is just like, well, that's just how stupid
And won your first playoff game in 30 years.
Yeah.
And you want to move off them the very next year.
Like,
it's like there's no
how
loyalty.
stupid are you?
I'm just saying, although I agree with you guys that it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to do that right now. I still see the logic in if the Lions are not getting to the Super Bowl this next year, maybe because you're so young, you're ready to go with Hendon Hooker if you believe that he's the guy.
I think like the only reason,
but look, yeah. Also that because your cap space can't hold on to a great team if you're paying this guy $40+ million,
and they have a lot of space.
Goff is not worth $40+ million. He's not.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like look at what the Packers just did. We got rid of Aaron Rodgers. Okay, think of that. We got rid of one of the greatest quarterbacks that has ever existed to move on to Jordan Love. And let's be honest, a lot of that had to do with this, just like Ken said. Had a lot to do with money also. We made that move, and we couldn't be happier right now as Packers fans, right? And I think what Joe said holds a lot of weight also. Like, they're not trading for Jordan Love, and this is a hypothetical, obviously. You're not trading for Jordan Love because of his first year. You're trading for him because of that ceiling that you see. You know what I mean? The ceiling is hitting sky high at this moment. Now, if what Ken says is true, and I kind of agree with him that if the defenses figure Jordan Love out, he's probably not going to be as good as this last year. If that happens, all of a sudden his trade value starts to plummet, right? But what if you have a guy that his junior year, we're going to call it, his junior starting year, he turns back into that first year starter and he starts figuring out the defenses that thought that they figured him out. All of a sudden, that ceiling that we're talking about, he has such a high ceiling.
Well, and so just, I don't know how much if you guys put any stock in the Spotrac. The Spotrac is normally pretty spot on with these contracts. Right now, Jared Goff's calculated market value is at $37.4 million a year. So they're saying he should be getting a 4-year, $149 million. This year, he's only making $33 million. So right now, you're getting a better value. Now I'm going to look while you talk. I'm going to look up Jordan Love.
Jordan Love is looking at the Packers need to re-sign him this offseason because if he balls out this next year, he's looking at $50 million. Yep. Like. He's looking at Patrick Mahomes money.
Oh, yeah.
That's the problem that we face right now.
Yep. Well, I don't know about Patrick Mahomes money, but he's looking at Dak Prescott money.
For this one?
Okay,
Jordan
Dak
Love's
Prescott
market
money.
value.
That's a lot of fucking money to pay a guy.
So
in the Packers, if they don't do it right now, because the Packers could potentially get Jordan Love for $33 million a year now, right? For like 5 years.
Nope.
You could get it at
market value. His market value right now, Jordan Love, $44.8 million. So you're looking
that might be his market value.
My point is, if you do it right now, you could convince Jordan Love that he needs to take a lower contract for a high amount of years. Because what if you don't ball out, Jordan? What if you're not the guy? You had one good year, and that's all you had is one good year. You could get him, and you know what? Per what you just said, Ken, maybe I'll bump it up to $36 million a year, right? Let's bump it up to $36 million. You could still make that argument with him that he needs to take that long-term contract because we don't know what you are yet. Now, if he balls out next year, you're looking at $50 million plus. That's the problem.
You know what Fields' market value is right now? Just for comparison.
Justin Fields?
Yeah, you know what his market value is right now?
38
burger.
Is it 40 plus?
40.
Wow.
So here's the thing. So I've been tracking Fields on Spotrac since about week 5 or 6. At one point, he was about $33 million a year. At the end of the season, it's jumped up. Their Spotrac has his market value at $47.1 million right now.
Wow.
And
Now,
you know, look at Spotrac.
Ken, I know
has
you
been
love the guy,
pretty
but I
spot
would
on.
never pay anywhere near that for
No.
Justin Fields. That's just
The
me.
thing is, Spotrac, you know, here's the sad thing. Spotrac's pretty spot on with their estimations. So
I'm sure they are.
So, I mean, you look at the value of the quarterback position right now. These are gaudy numbers for these guys.
Well,
And we're not used to
let's do
we're
this.
used to when Drew Brees got 20 million. It's like, holy shit, Drew Brees is getting 20. But the
So,
problem
Ken,
is
let's do this.
the market's just overvaluated as far as
Dominic
you know.
is a Falcons fan, right? Dominic,
Yeah.
would you pay 40+ million for Justin Fields to be on the Falcons right now?
No, that's a waste of money. You can expand your roster. Like, you know, I see the Falcons are in talks. You know, there's rumors Falcons want to either get Justin Fields or
Well,
trade up and
let's look at
everything,
some other
but
guys.
40
Hold
million,
on,
that's
Ken,
too
hold on,
much.
Ken. Hold on, Ken.
He hasn't
Joe,
proven himself.
You're a Raiders fan. You're not part of the NFC North, just like Dominic, who wouldn't make that move. Would you pay Justin Fields 40+ million?
I wouldn't pay any quarterback 40+ million unless it was Patrick Mahomes.
So
Facts.
right now, like Kyler Murray's at 46 million, Jalen Hurts is at 51, Lamar Jackson at 52, Justin
But
Herbert
do you
at 52.
see my point, Ken? It's just even though they're giving him that market value, I don't think that other teams want to give him that money. I don't think he's
No,
worth it.
but see,
Well, yeah,
but what Ken said is true though. The quarterback market is so overvalued right now.
It is.
That it's
And
like
that's why I'm saying
you're going
Green
to pay
Bay
40 million
this
for an
offseason
average
needs to
quarterback.
re-sign Jordan Love. That's why I'm saying they need to do it now because
But
you
Love's
can get
not
it
gonna
at a
you're right.
lower
sign
value.
They need
not-
to.
no,
They need
but
to
right
be
now
in
he
negotiations
knows.
right now.
Look at it. He knows his market value is about 44 million right now. You think he's going to sign
But
for 10
but
million a year
this
less?
right
Hell
now,
no.
this offseason, the Packers could argue with him that, hey man, you only did it 1 year. Let's give you a long-term contract, a good, nice, big contract that's under that market value, and let's watch you prove to us that
He
you
won't
deserve
do it.
more.
He-
I
And
think
get bonus
this year,
You
incentives
want
too,
me to
though.
sign for 4 years? You want me for 4 years? You're minimum. You give me. Okay, Nick.
I think that the Packers have a good argument though
Yeah,
right
but you know what
now.
though? But
My-
Jordan Love can say, you know what though? I'm not going to sign an extension. I'm going to play next year. Watch my market value go north of
100%.
50, and then I'm going to go get paid in Seattle.
100%.
Or I'm going to go get paid
All
in
I'm
Chicago.
saying,
Or
Ken,
I'm going to
is
get
this
paid
is
in
our best.
Arizona.
All I'm saying is right now is our best chance to make that argument that let's give you a
Nothing
long-term
less than
contract
40.
for a lower value.
Let's do this.
All I'm saying is we have a better argument today
I
make
look
it
at,
a
I
lower.
agree because I
But
think the Bears are in
also-
the same situation with Fields. But
Also,
you're
I
not
don't
going to get
think
him for anything less than 40.
Jordan Love doesn't strike me as being a particularly selfish guy.
I think
So
he
I
loves
think
being
that-
here too.
I
Yeah,
think that
that's what I was
there
about
is a
to say.
chance that he might be willing to take a little bit less money if you could convince him that you're going to use the rest of that money to flesh out the rest of the
I
roster.
still
He
Yeah.
wants
think
to win
though,
championships.
Him
He
watching
wants to win
Rodgers.
championships.
Yeah, I think from him watching Rodgers go for the bag multiple times, it gives him more of an incentive to say, wow, you know, he made a shit ton of money, but the team suffered for it. Do I want
And
to?
also, I think
Yeah,
Cody,
let's be honest.
I think Cody is right
Hey,
too.
fellas,
That Green Bay likes
let's
to
be honest.
backload their contracts, so they could offer Jordan Love like a 7-year deal and really load out the last 3 years of it,
Yeah.
like where he's making $50 million a year.
I don't think
Green-
so. You're getting anything less. Like on look at
Yeah.
right now. I agree with Nick. Right, this is your best time to sign Love to an extension. I think the same is true with Justin Fields in Chicago. And look at you can do it because the way you do your guarantee, like if you know you're going to keep Jordan at least 2 more years, you make that the guarantee pretty much eats up the first 2 years. Same thing with Justin. You make sure your guarantee pretty much eats up year 1 or year 2, so you can comfortably get rid of them if they're not your guy at year 3, 4, whatever. I don't think though in either case you get either of them for anything south of 40 million a year on a 4-year deal. So 40 million though is not a bad number though. I think look at Nick. I think you could live with giving Love 40 million a year over as an average over 4 years. I think most Bears
And I
fans
agree with
think-
that.
Yeah,
I'm
and I
perfectly
think-
fine with that. My point is that right now is the best chance that you have to
Yep.
get this at a lower value because Jordan Love, look, just like Joe said, his ceiling is so high right now. he could legit go to the Packers right now and go, hey, I want 50 mil, and we really don't have a choice, right? Like you kind of have to do it.
Yeah.
But if you make the argument right now, this offseason, before he balls out again, you could say, hey, man, you did it for 1 year. We want you to be here. We love you, but we have to see more of these years, right? So let's, in like Cody said, backload this contract where if we sign you for the next 5 years, well, the last 2 years, you're going to make 50 mil, right? But the first 3 years, you're going to make 28, 33, and 35, right? This is your best chance that you have is to make that argument.
What first pick do the Steelers currently have as far as this statement goes?
The 21st pick, right? I think. Or the 22nd pick?
I'm looking it up right now.
Hey, I'm curious, like, because Ken is very adamant that the Bears should keep Fields, and that's what you think they're going to do. If they draft Caleb Williams #1 overall, are you going to break stuff in your house, Ken?
No, I'm not that kind of guy. But
I'm just joking with you, dude. I'm just wondering, like, is that going to be like? Are you gonna take that hard?
And you know what?
I mean, go ahead,
we're talking about QB values. Don't you think that right now would be the best chance that you have to trade Justin Fields for something substantial? Because
I do.
If he doesn't ball out next year, if he doesn't have a great year next year,
his value is in the toilet.
Yes, exactly. His value is a 5th round pick. See what I'm saying? Like, but right now, I truly think that you could get a team like the Falcons or the Raiders to give you their 1st round pick, and you could make something substantial out of it.
I don't think you could get a first from.
Yeah, I see a second.
Raiders.
I think you could.
I could see a second.
I think you could.
I think the Steelers would probably be willing to take that chance, but
there you go. Even the Steelers,
but not the Raiders. They're not going to give up
20.
Right now, Justin Fields' ceiling is very, very valuable right now. But if he in his 4th year doesn't have a great year, his stock is going to drop. Like, it's going to plummet.
Well, I was going to say you could count on the Steelers wanting to do that because the Steelers are one of those QB needy teams right now. Like, they need somebody since Kenny Pickett ain't panning out for them accordingly.
And you know what? The Steelers might be willing to trade for that 9th pick, and you guys move down to, I believe it's 22nd.
They're 20. I think that would be more of an option for them. Here's the thing on Fields. I think Fields is not getting traded because Eberflus stayed. #1, #2.
So we're doing that thing again where the coach is shown to the quarterback.
The coach is married to the quarterback. That's a reality.
Just like Dak Prescott's married to Mike McCarthy.
It's a reality in the NFL, but also with Justin, his numbers, every year. Justin steadily improved. We all already talked about Getsy. We know he was a shit ass OC.
And Joe gets to see that this year, how bad Getsy is.
And now you get a new OC. And if you add, let's say, a Marvin Harrison Jr. at #1 or #2 or #3, depending on how that plays out, he's got offensive weapons with the new OC. And I think Justin is going to still be the guy, and fans will be rewarded justifiably for holding on to him. You're right, Nick. He's got a high ceiling. We know he's got an arm. We've seen him use it. We know he's got accuracy. We've seen even this year, he's put some balls. You're like, oh my God, did he just do that? We know he can extend plays. We know he's hard to sack. Because how many times have we seen him go, oh, my God, how did he get out from that? So you've got a ball player there. You know you've got it. The question in Chicago has been, are you going to actually put coaching and talent and coaching around him that's going to make all that talent worth what you think they are on the field? So
this is why earlier I said he needs to stop holding the ball so long. He's the most sacked quarterback in the league 2 years running. You need to stop holding the ball so long.
Can I give you this is an honest assessment. To me, Justin Fields is a frustrating talent. Like, to me,
because he's talented, it's just frustrating to watch him not be talented during the games, right?
No, it's not even watching him not be talented during the games. Because I think it's like Ken said. I think it's like you see moments, you see flashes where he makes a pass that you're like, wow, that was incredible. But then
But the
very
other
next
30
play,
passes that he makes, you're like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
Well, because the play call is throw it 3 yards behind the line. of scrimmage.
Regardless, you
I mean,
still,
like-
regardless, I get what Joe's saying. Like, it's frustrating to watch a guy so talented underachieve, right?
And you know what's funny though, Nick, about that though? You know what's funny about those plays? Most of those plays are, oh my God, I can't believe he just did that. You know what kind of plays those were on? Busted plays where he would extend the play and do something himself.
Yes,
Joe's
not,
highlighting that.
you're right.
Joe's
Yeah,
You're
saying
right.
that those
the play
plays.
calling is so terrible in Chicago. Let me go to Nick's point about most sacked. You know who the most sacked quarterback in 2023-24 was? Howe in Washington with 65.
That's right.
sacks,
But the last
65
2
times.
years, wasn't
Young,
it Justin Fields?
Nope. Young, 62 times. Wilson, 46 times. The other
Okay.
Wilson, 45
Look up
times.
last year.
Fields
Look up
comes
the
in
year
at-
before that.
This is most sacked 2023 to 2024.
Look
Fields
up the
sacked
year before that.
44
Who was the
times.
most sacked quarterback the year before that? It was
So
Justin Fields.
22 to 23.
Yeah. It was Justin
But
Fields.
here, while you're looking that up, Ken, let me finish what I was saying. Like, for me, Justin Fields has a really high ceiling, right? Like, he makes some plays that are incredible. But the frustrating thing is he'll throw a freaking 60-yard bomb, like, right into the dude's hands. Then the very next play, he'll scramble and he'll run right into the defensive lineman and get sacked.
Yes.
So Wilson from 2022 to 2024, Wilson was 100 sacks, number 1. Fields was number 2 at 99. And then you get Smith. And
You're not
Naismith.
answering my question. You're not answering my question.
I am answering your question. He wasn't the
No,
most
you
sacked
didn't.
quarterback.
I said who had the most sacks? Who was the most sacked quarterback the year before?
Not Justin
You just
Fields.
went 2 years together. It was Justin
Okay.
Fields. Exactly. Thank you.
I said not Justin Fields.
How was it not?
No. Yeah, but Ken, what he's saying is you gave us 2022 to
Okay, so
2023.
wait, I'm going to give you just 23. Nope, it was Wilson was the most sacked, not Fields.
Are you sure?
Russell Wilson was the most sacked quarterback in the NFL.
The year before?
Okay.
Yep.
Well, then I'm wrong. But I know that
I know
Fields
you're
was. Fields was second
But
then,
you
right?
didn't,
He was up there.
Ken, you didn't tell us where Fields was, though. You didn't tell us that he was
He was
second,
second.
right
A
behind that.
lot of Fields from watching all the games, because I do watch all the Bears games.
I watch all the Bears games too, and I watch Justin Fields
So,
run into sacks the way that Joe's.
So yeah, and
saying.
Joe's not completely wrong. I've seen that too. A lot of sacks have been cut. He's got some coverage sacks for sure. And then like some sacks, for instance, and unfortunately this happened too much in Chicago. Look at the end of the Detroit game we lost. Blindside, unabated to the quarterback, right? He gets a lot of those because Getsy could not call an offense. The one he got hurt on, the play he got hurt on, the sack he got hurt on, once again, blindside, unabated to the quarterback. No one blocked it. Fields was a victim of a lot of sacks like that last year and the year before.
Okay,
Because
but doesn't that have something to do with
offenses?
Doesn't
suck.
that have something to do with pocket awareness though? Like he doesn't have awareness.
No, he has awareness. He's
No,
like,
he doesn't. Because you know what?
He
I
does,
haven't
Nick, and we've
seen
seen it.
Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins, or Jordan Love take the same sacks that Justin Fields does. So there's something.
I see a lot of quarterbacks take a lot of the same sacks.
I don't watch
It
the
was
same
the blind
quarterbacks do it
side,
the way
and
that
it's like if you look at the Hutchinson hit on him, the strip sack against the Lions, the first one. Justin barely got 2 steps back from the center and
You know
got
what?
hit. There's
So
nothing
Justin
you can
Fields
do
was the
with
5th
that.
most sacked quarterback, right? He also
Yep.
missed how many games this year? 3, 4?
4 or 5,
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
So that's actually really bad then that you're still fit.
But let me propose something here.
But
So,
Joe, don't you agree with that though? That his
Big
pocket
Ben took
awareness
a lot of
clearly
sacks
isn't
too.
there,
He
right?
was a good quarterback.
You don't
It's
see other
not-
quarterbacks
yeah.
take the sacks that Justin Fields does.
it's not just pocket awareness. It's also a quarterback is responsible for calling out your protections. Like,
And
you're
he's not good at
responsible
calling
for
out his
shifting
protection.
the
He's not
offensive
good
line.
at it.
You're responsible for telling your running back, "Hey, you need to pick this dude up. This is the mic. This dude's coming. You need to pick him up." Like, so it's not just the pocket awareness, but pocket awareness has been somewhat of an issue. But
He takes a lot
holding
of
on to
coverage
the
sacks.
holding
Yeah.
on to the ball too long has been an issue. And I wanted to propose this. Like, so Nick, you just said, like, Kirk Cousins, guys like that, they don't take sacks like that. Why? Because they throw the ball away, right? Justin Fields, but here, let me propose this. I think that it's a possibility. I don't know Justin Fields personally, but I think that it's a possibility that Justin Fields believes in his talent so much that he doesn't throw the ball away because he's that kind of guy that doesn't want to give up hope on a play because he feels like I can get it there if I can just evade this guy. Somebody's going to come open. If I can just do this. So I think he trusts his talent so much that it actually costs him because he doesn't throw it away when he should. He doesn't.
He did get better at that this year, though, Joe. Joe, he did, honestly, and from watching games, he did get better at throwing the ball away this year versus last year. And let's remember, look, he's not the first quarterback who takes a lot of coverage sacks.
Not at all.
A lot of field sacks or coverage. Like Big Ben used to take a ton of coverage sacks. And I kind of agree with you a little bit, Joe, on that he feels that if I can get around this guy, because a lot of those sacks, he's trying to turn into a runner at that point, and he gets caught. I agree with you that there's a certain degree to that as well, Joe. But he's also gotten better just throwing the ball away. We did see an improvement in that this year, and that just went along with the narrative that every year Justin Fields has been getting better.
Okay. Which is why, but that's
Joe,
what I'm saying is that he has gotten better.
Let me tell you, Joe,
so
real
that's
quick.
why he has trade value right now.
Let
that's
me
why
put this
it makes
to you,
sense
Joe.
for Chicago. If you don't feel that he's going to be your long-term guy to move on, why he still has value.
You've never met someone that's a bigger Aaron Rodgers fan than me, right? That's a poison to think that you can just make every throw, every play. It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
And that was the point that I made, is that I think that it's possible that Justin Fields just believes in his talent so much that he doesn't make the right decision when he should at times.
And that's a poison.
Because he's not the kind of guy that wants to give up on the play. He's like, I can make every play,
It's like a blessing and a curse because Justin Fields will make those amazing plays that Ken is talking about where every once in a while.
Which goes back to my original point, which is that Justin Fields, let's be honest, physical talent-wise, he's one of the most talented quarterbacks in the NFL. Like the dude has amazing athletic ability.
Yeah.
He has a cannon for an arm. That's why it's so frustrating to me is that, this dude has the physical talents every bit that Patrick Mahomes has, right? But mentally, the mental side of the game.
I don't know about that.
Well, Joe, I think though
I'm talking about physical talent, Nick. I'm not talking about
Patrick Mahomes. I think though, Joe, we've seen improvement. We saw improvements this year in what you're talking about. Like he definitely was more willing to just throw the ball away this year. He was more willing to do those things you're talking about. I think he'll improve with that. And I think also with with better coaching, which I think he's going to have better coaching this year than he's ever had. This is his third OC already. Dude,
how many better coachings do you have to have though? How many better weapons do you have to have?
But it's not. But we're not talking weapons. Look, he said this is to me his third OC in 4 years.
You guys are continuing to claim that this is getting better because of a better coach and a better situation.
Nick,
how many better situations do you have to have to realize that Fields?
You can't renege your comment you just made out Getsy is trash by then trying to say, well, Getsy was trash, but
he
was trash.
And I understand
Fields should have been so much better with a trash
point
coach.
Is how many different better situations can you possibly have with better weapons? This is a better year. How many times can you guys do this until you fall into insanity? How many times can you possibly do this?
Okay, Nick, I got an answer for that. When your quarterback stagnates or regresses.
And he's not getting it done, is he? He also was very terrible this last year in many aspects.
No.
Yes, he was. Throwing the ball, he was not spectacular, was he?
Dude, his percentages are up. You've seen improvements in all facets of this game.
You just watched Jordan Love do what he did his first starting year ever. I feel like that's a big measuring stick for you guys.
No, I don't.
Here's a measuring stick.
Nick, in a way, you're kind of right there. It is a measuring stick. So we'll see how Justin Fields does in his 4th year as a pro, and then compare that to what Jordan Love did in his 4th year as a pro.
Well,
You're right. There is somewhat of a measuring stick.
There's a difference there, Ken, because Jordan Love wasn't starting for 4 years. Number one. Number two. Number two. The Packers have a much better overall roster than the Bears do. So that actually leans towards Ken's favor in that aspect because Justin Fields hasn't had the weapons that you guys have. He hasn't had Joe.
Wait a minute, Joe. Jordan Love had to deal with an entire brand new rookie roster, basically, and second-year players. He had brand new players everywhere. And you know what? Ken Cantaloupe.
You're right.
Ken, I've said this all year, right? The whole year. I said one of my favorite things about Jordan Love is that before the snap, he creates blocking schemes. He points out the mic. He does everything before the snap that makes their offense succeed. That's something that I don't see in Justin Fields. I don't see Justin Fields doing that before the snap. I don't see it.
That's a fair argument. I don't see it either. And that's what we were talking about with pocket awareness and with, it's not just pocket awareness. It's identifying and changing your protections based on what the defense is doing. Yeah. But I also think if Justin Fields went to Seattle, if you guys were to trade him to Seattle, I think he would have this season. He would do better than any year he had on the Bears.
We've talked about this on our Packers shows. If Justin Fields got drafted by Green Bay, I think he'd be amazing. Because of the culture, and not only that,
the coaching.
Jordan Love got to watch Aaron Rodgers before the snap, right? He got to learn these things. Yeah. Justin Fields hasn't learned from anybody other than himself.
He got thrown in the fire. He got just thrown right into
no veteran QB to mentor him.
And I understand the disadvantages that Justin Fields has had, which is, I think, ties into why it's so frustrating for Joe to watch this guy, because it's like, I know you have the talent. I've seen it. It's just frustrating to watch this guy underachieve the way that he has. No one's helping him. No one.
What would be the best thing? What would be the best thing that the Bears could do would be to find a veteran quarterback who's serviceable and just not to play him, but just to mentor. Get a guy like a Jacoby Brissett or a Gardner Minshew, somebody like that who understands the mental aspect of the game, and have them coach up Justin Fields. That would be the smartest thing the Bears could do. That would be the best $8 million you ever spent.
What's up, A-Dub?
On a backup.
Yeah. I was going to say all this criticism you can give Justin Fields, like, sure, he may not do all the things that you would say Jordan Love does, but you got to think they're not the – but another thing you can attest that too is that Fields and Love are not the same kind of quarterback out there. And also how much of Justin Fields' underwhelming play can be attributed to the old line itself? Like, what is their PFF grades in terms of run or pass blocking out there at times?
Actually, very good.
And can we all agree on this? Ken, I think you would agree with this too, even though we never agree on anything. I think you would agree with this. Until Justin Fields can figure out a way to play good against the Green Bay Packers, I don't think he's going to succeed overall until he can figure out one of these biggest obstacles.
Bear down, Mike. You said that they did that with Dalton and Foles, but Nagy got pressure to play Justin. My point isn't that they should have. My point isn't that they should have done it. My point is they should do it now. That they should go get a veteran quarterback who has had some success in the league and understands the mental aspect of the game to mentor him now. Still let Justin Fields start, but having that guy in practice every day to tell you, hey, this you need to do this, or you could do this better. Like,
or
I think,
or let's put it this way: what if you brought, for example, what if you brought someone like Phillip Rivers as a quarterback coach to mentor someone like Justin Fields?
I think that would be great. I think that would be.
But once again, though, Nick. But Nick, once again,
I think that Ken, real quick. I'm just going to say, I believe that
there's been a ton of stuff that's gone here. So let me answer that first.
I was just going to say, I believe that's step one. Step one for Justin Fields is beat the Packers.
It's coaching. Once again, it's coaching. Like Mike with this whole Russell Wilson scenario, it's never going to happen because $85 million in dead cap is never going to happen for them in Denver. They're stuck with Russell for this contract probably. But I mean, once again though, Nick, you come back to what I said earlier. it has to deal with the coaching that Justin received. And
Sure.
so look at this year. I think there's another reason why the Bears are keeping him. The coaching they've brought in is designed to improve Justin. The weapons and all that are great, but I think the coaching they brought in, the quarterback coach they brought in, the OC they brought in, are both guys who have been proven to be able to do to better quarterbacks like Russell Wilson, like Geno Smith.
So if it doesn't work with this coach, are you willing to secede that maybe this just
Yeah,
doesn't
but
work?
I don't need it. I don't need to go from where he was last year because we've seen improvement every year.
All right.
He doesn't need to become the best quarterback in the league in 1 year. You got to give these guys. That's the other thing I think in the NFL. We bring a guy in and we expect it to be immediate. Like you need 2 to 3 years in a lot of scenarios. I think you give Justin 2 years. You give Justin 2 years with this OC. Like I think you give Eberflus, Shane Waldron, and his coaching staff with the players you've got with the players you've got on this roster now in total. You got to give them 2 years. You got to give them minimum 2 years.
Let me make an argument, dude. So, Josh Allen, when Josh Allen got drafted, his first
terrible.
2 years he was terrible.
Terrible.
Right?
Terrible.
All of a sudden, his third year, he was one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I give a lot of credit for that to Ken Dorsey, who was the offensive coordinator or the quarterback's coach. I give a lot of credit to Ken Dorsey for that, for helping him to realize his talent, right? But Josh Allen was terrible in his first 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Terrible.
So my point is Justin Fields, this is going to be now what, his 4th year?
Yep. Third OC, 4th quarterback coach. Yeah.
So at some point, like I'm with you on the argument, Ken, that you don't find out in year 1 or 2 what you got, but by year 4 or 5, you kind of do know what you got.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying though is, Joe, is that you can't bring in a new OC, new quarterback coach, change your training regimen, change the way you're trying to make them think, and say, well, by week 10 we'll know. No, you're not going to know. You may know.
You're
but
right.
I think
but that's the Bears' fault for changing offensive coordinators 3 times in 4 years.
I get that, but like in terms of, that's the past. You can't. That's done and over. I think now moving forward from where you are today, you've got Justin for 2 more years on his rookie contract. Minimum. You've got him for 2 years, guaranteed on his rookie contract. I think with this entire coaching staff and Justin, you're playing out those 2 years.
My point is,
my
point is, how many times can you slam your head on the chalkboard until you realize the chalkboard's going to win?
Nick,
hold on, guys.
Let me finish the thought and then let A-Dub get in. Because here's the thing. The end of that was it's the right thing to do, because at the end of 2 years, if you're not satisfied with what you've done at your quarterback and your coaching position, next year we know supposedly is a bum year for quarterbacks.
Well,
so
ask Dominic.
Nick, stop.
Ask Dominic what that's like.
Hold on, Nick.
It's bad.
After the 2 years, you can go for a whole new coaching regime, new quarterback, and new everything. And go ahead, A-Dub, because I know you've been trying to speak.
Yeah, I was going to say, Ken, that last comment that Bear Down Mike made, I could agree with that, because I felt that was the same. That was exactly what happened with you guys when Nagy was over there. Like, he did get pressured and bullied into putting Justin Fields in right away. Like, that part where you guys were saying, like, Fields should have got himself a veteran quarterback to learn behind. Yeah, I agree with Ken. That ship had sailed. Like, they tried that already.
I mean, at some point, you've got to just, the problem was, like, the fans, and this is where the current regime is doing much better. The Nagy regime, that they would listen to the fans. This regime, fuck the fans. We know football better than the fans do. That's why we get paid millions of dollars to do this job.
But they don't necessarily know better.
Not Joe, not A-Dub.
They don't necessarily know better. I hate that argument that because they play in the league that they somehow magically know better. That's not how it works, okay?
Well, we don't make the millions of dollars to
That's not necessarily how it works, okay? First of all, Isaiah, okay,
majority of the fans are idiots when it comes to that.
Right? Isaiah Thomas is one of the greatest players that has ever existed. He thinks that Michael Jordan is a bum. Does that mean that Michael Jordan's a bum? He played in the league.
Yeah,
Wait, you can't give your argument though, Ken, because he played in the league. Okay,
No, but Nick,
you know
let's
what I'm
face
saying?
it. Nick, let's
It doesn't
face it,
matter, bro.
For
There
every
are people
every
that can
smart
watch
fan
the game and
I can
understand
find
the
you
game.
100 that don't know shit.
There's
Okay,
a lot of
that's
people
true.
that don't know
That's
shit.
true,
And I agree with
but
you on
Ken,
that. What I'm
there are
saying is,
people. There are people on podcasts right now that know more than NFL GMs. There are
exactly.
people.
There
There are people right
actually
now.
are.
There are people right now who should be getting paid millions of dollars to do it, but they're not. And there are people right now that are getting paid millions of dollars that shouldn't be.
And
That's
there's
my
a few,
point.
and look at Joe, and you know what, I agree with you. There are a couple like that, sure. But I mean, what I'm saying is, we tend to like if you're in Detroit right now and listening to the fan base, Rob is gone and Hooker's the guy.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying to
You know what
listen.
I'm saying?
I'm
So
not saying to listen to the fan base.
I mean, you listen to the fan base to a degree, but you
Yeah,
can't let the
but I'm
fan
not saying
base
to listen to the fan
dictate.
base. I'm saying to
You
listen
can't
to
let
people
the
who make sense.
yeah, you
I'm saying
can't
to
let
listen
the
to people
fan
who make
base
sense.
dictate that you start a guy today
100%.
when you know you
100%.
should, and that's what happened. And then
Because
way back, this is what A-Dub said.
99.9% of the
This is
fan
what
base
happened with
is
Fields. Like we had two good veteran quarterbacks there, and well, because we took him in the first round, we got to start. Like I was against starting Fields his rookie year at all. I thought Fields shouldn't see the field one play his entire rookie year unless everyone else is injured, right? And because you look at what the Packers did with Jordan Love, that's how you guys approached it, and it worked out for you.
It clearly
in
works.
the long term, right? So that's what I'm saying. So I
definitely.
think now you're in a position with the Bears, this current Bears regime. They're like, look, we'll listen to the fan base to a degree, but look, you got to get Fields. They're going to get Fields 2 years. You got it for 2 years. You got him on a rookie contract for 2 years. You have 2 years now to say we're giving you an OC that we believe is good, has a proven track record of working with quarterbacks and doing decent things at offense. We're bringing you a quarterback coach who's got a proven record of working with quarterbacks. Look what he did with Geno Smith. Look what he did with Russell Wilson. You've got 2 years to continue improving. If you stagnate or regress, we can move on from the entire shebang in 2 years.
So
I gotta
I
be
want to say
honest
something
with you.
that's going to lead up to Dominic talking. There's something to be said with just knowing when it's the time to get rid of what you're doing. Like, again, how many times can you bang your head on the chalkboard until you realize the chalkboard is going to win every time, right? And Dominic is a Atlanta Falcons fan, right? How many times can you watch Desmond Ridder until you're just sitting there going, you know what? This just isn't the guy, right?
I was over it when he fumbled. My thing is, how do you fumble in the red zone when your clear, option is, you're a quarterback running, right?
Okay,
You're doing a
let
quarterback
me
sneak and
ask you a
everything,
question,
but how do you get
Let
that
him go,
smacked out?
Ken.
How do you not tuck that in like a running back?
Dominic,
How do you throw interceptions like your first
how many
read?
How many years has Riddick been a pro?
Redder.
Oh, Ritter.
Desmond Redder.
Desmond Ritter.
Yeah,
I believe
how
this
long
is
has he been-
he's going on his third year.
It's his third year.
Yeah. So I mean, he did have terrible veteran presence QB. I wouldn't Marcus Mariota. I wouldn't really count on him because I've seen what he did last year. And
Also,
then Tyler Heineke's on that same
per
boat.
the Justin Fields argument, you already seen this where you're like, look, we got a guy that we thought was really talented. Maybe he could be the guy.
Yeah.
You see it immediately, right? You're like, he's just not going to do it for us.
Yeah,
right?
I don't. They shouldn't make a trade for him,
Hey,
but
Nick,
he's got to
that's
find
not
a system.
Nick, that's not a fair argument. That's not completely a fair argument, though, because Desmond Ritter was
I'm
never
talking to
projected.
someone that's watching his own quarterback and going, this guy probably
Third
isn't the guy.
Right.
So
But
when
what
do the
I'm-
Bears sit
draft.
there? My point is, when do the Bears finally sit there and go, maybe this just isn't the guy?
I get
but
your argument, but what I'm saying
get
is,
your argument
if you're
too,
going to use Desmond Ritter and compare him to Justin Fields, that's not a fair comparison because Desmond Ritter is a
Especially-
third round
That's
pick
true.
who was projected to be he was
Especially.
never
But
projected.
you get
to
my
have
point,
anywhere
right?
near
Like
the
as a
talent
fan,
for-
you
Yes.
watch so
Yeah.
much
And
with someone that
also-
you finally just
and
go, you know what?
also-
This just isn't working.
And
right?
also something else I'm sure about, Desmond Ritter did not have the same expectations as Justin
Right.
Fields did when
Right.
he
Not
got
at all.
drafted.
True.
But that's what I'm saying. So Nick, that's like saying like Aiden O'Connell, the rookie quarterback for the
No,
Raiders.
no, no,
this
no.
year.
See, you're getting beyond my point. My point was, as a fan, when you watch something that's not working, when do you finally sit there and go, "This just isn't. This isn't it"?
No, I understand your argument, and I'm with it because honestly, my honest take is, I don't think Justin Fields will ever succeed in Chicago. I think the only chance that Justin Fields has of being salvaged is to go to a team that actually knows how to develop quarterbacks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
And
my
that's
honest.
why I said,
And
if
just
Justin Fields was drafted by Green Bay, I think he would have been a great quarterback. I really
He'd be
do.
an All-Pro by now.
So here's
I
the
really
thing, though.
believe
Like
that.
Joe, with the past OC and coaches we've had for that position, I would agree with you. But now we've got a new OC with a new coach, quarterback coach, who have proven with other quarterbacks that they
Exactly,
can
Cody.
develop. So
Except
if now
that you
you've
did
got
compare them, Nick. Like you literally asked Dom about Desmond Ritter in the
just
context
because
of the conversation
just
about
Because
Justin.
as a
because
fan,
just
he
because
understands
they're in
what he's watching,
Chicago.
and he's going,
Oh
"This
my
isn't
fucking
it."
god, guys! Listen, let's have a little decorum. I'm in the middle of a comment, and you read a comment off the screen and totally cut it off. Let's stop for a second, okay? And
It's
then we'll
your
go
show,
back to
Ken.
that. We've been doing
I'll
this
abide
all
by your
night.
rules. Go ahead, Ken.
No, I mean, I'm just saying, dude, we've been doing this all day, and like I get it, but come on. So just saying that just because the guy's in Chicago doesn't. Yeah, historically we've been bad at this, okay? But now you've got a new OC, you've got a new quarterback coach with proven track records that go against that past. So now you've got to give him the opportunity with Justin. So like I don't buy Joe's argument that if he went somewhere he'd be a better quarterback. I mean, now you've got the same situation as him going to, let's say, in Atlanta or another team, but you've made that situational change different. Instead of changing location, you brought in different coaches. So you've got to give Justin the opportunity. And to go to Nick's point about the board, that's great. You know what, Nick? We've broken the curse because what the Bears have historically done is you jettison the quarterback, get a new quarterback with 1 year of a head coach and fire the coach and rinse and repeat. So by us keeping Justin for the next year to two, and if it doesn't work, now you get rid of the head coach, the quarterback, and all. You've broken the cycle, which is kind of like what you get, what Joe's get right now with Vegas, what they're going to be getting in Atlanta. You're going to get a new coach, new quarterback, new OC, new everything, and then you can see it for 3 years. So the Chicago is trying to change. The current regime is trying to change that narrative in Chicago, and by doing, and they've already started to make that. You're seeing that change. The fact that they're going to keep Justin Fields. And they're going to keep the head coach at the same time.
But Ken, you're avoiding the question. My whole point was, that's why I asked Dom about Ritter. Where's the breaking point at this point? Because if he just doesn't succeed, he's not the guy. It's kind of like with Mitch Trubisky, right? You guys held on to Mitch Trubisky for a little too long.
No, well, Mitch was interesting. I think we kind of hurt Mitch, but no, I mean, look at. With Fields, you're seeing progression every year. Fields has progressed.
So what's the breaking point? Ken, what's the breaking point?
Well, I think we've said this over and over again. If there's zero progression, if you're stagnant or regressing, then you have a better argument, Nick. But the problem is you're seeing progression every year, and you're trending in the right position, in the right way. As long as Justin keeps trending,
I'm not
as long as he keeps trending, and Mike brings up a good point. There are 3 games that if the defense didn't give away those 3 games, the Bears in the playoff, then are we even having
But
this
you know what? Jordan Love would have had
not.
12 wins this year if the defense didn't. You can say that about every quarterback and every team. That's the NFL. I'm asking you, like, where do you finally sit there and just think to yourself, like, this just isn't working? Because, again, look, this is going to be a very homer take. I get that. But Jordan Love in his first starting year did more than Justin Fields has done ever. That's his first starting year ever.
Yeah, Ken and I have talked about this before, that yes, the progression's nice, but if it slows down to a crawl, you're eventually going to see that this guy's only got so much of a ceiling. Now, Fields has shown a bit.
Let's be honest, Jordan Love panning out the way he did only serves as a testament to the patience Green Bay has, which other franchises don't have.
So what are we talking about
sometimes,
here?
Sometimes I'm just saying that patience thing for Green Bay has proven to work out very well, which could be a problem other franchises have. But not every quarterback has to go through a patient cycle when it comes to their
Well,
development.
Well, maybe they should. Maybe they should. Maybe you guys did the wrong thing then. And I don't look, when is the breaking point is all I'm asking. Like, when is it to you viable to move on at this point?
I think I've already answered that like several
Yeah,
times, Nick, but you just don't want to listen.
Here, look, can I say something? Look, so Chicago is one of the oldest franchises in the NFL, right? Chicago has, if you look at the history of Chicago, name the last great Chicago Bears quarterback.
There's Sid Luckman, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, no, okay, so my point is this. Like, Chicago has a proven track record of not being able to develop quarterbacks. Now, what Ken is saying is, I know that that's the past, but we're breaking the curse. Like, we brought these guys in, and everything is going to be different now. My thing is, I need to see it because to me,
but let them see it. Though.
it's an over. Right, but can I finish my take? Like, I need to see it because you're talking about 40 to 50 years of ineptitude, which to me says it's not an offensive coordinator problem. It's not even a head coach problem. It's that somewhere the people making the decisions on who's going to coach your quarterbacks, they don't know what to look for.
But
and
that has
so
changed too.
you can go through 23 different offensive coordinators and you can go through 45 head coaches. If the person that's hiring these people doesn't know what to look for, or
but Joe, that changed too.
Look, this is my point, Ken. At some point, with how many offensive coordinators the Chicago Bears have had in the last 30 years, you should have, by random chance, you should have lucked into one that could
at least one.
So we did.
At least one.
We did.
And
Jake
again,
Cutler, hold on. Let me, before you guys keep piling, let me respond. Jesus Christ. So Jay Cutler was a quarterback in Chicago for a long time, did have success in Chicago. Okay. He had a lot of success in Chicago. So don't look past that and just go, oh, Sid Luckman. Let's go to the last quarterback that they drafted. They did draft a quarterback who was the offensive rookie of the year. You know who that was?
Yeah, Mitchell Trubisky.
No.
Oh, well,
Before that, it was Jim McMahon.
He had one great
Jim
year.
McMahon was the offensive rookie.
Jim McMahon is a terrible quarterback.
Now look,
McMahon.
Stop. I'm just saying that the Bears have had guys in the past. You guys let me finish the comment before you jump. So your comment, while I agree that historically they have not developed quarterbacks, McMahon won a Super Bowl. I think we'll never know how good McMahon would have been as a totality of his career because of the body slam injury. Thank you, Green Bay. Trubisky had a good rookie year. Then who knows why the wheels fell off with Nagy, but it did. But you talked about the people, Joe. You talked about the people hiring. Well, Kevin Warren is the first football guy we've had in this position since I don't know what. Because before, for the longest time, it was McCaskey. Then McCaskey, they finally figured out, well, maybe he should be making football calls. And then the guy that hired after that, well, yeah, he was good for getting the Bears a stadium. They actually have a football guy now in Warren making these decisions. So I think between Warren and Poles, you've got a much better headshed than you've had in Chicago in probably 3 or 4 decades since Papa Hallis died. So you can make the argument now in Chicago that they have a better team in place to correct the problems that's been George McCaskey for 3 decades. And I think, it took McCaskey 3 decades to realize it, but yeah, maybe I should be. And now you've got Warren. So you've got to give them now the opportunity to show you, Joe, and to show you, Nick, and to show you, Dave-Dub, that they can make that change. And at least with Fields, you even through the crappy ass offensive design they had last year and everything else, you're seeing progression. And so for Nick, you got to give him now the next year to 2. And if the next 2 years, it either regresses or stagnates or they don't achieve better, then yeah, you've got to get rid of them. But you got to give them at least 1 to 2 seasons minimum before you write them off.
Let me get my point across real quick. Because Joe made a very strong argument for what I'm talking about in this moment. For Chicago, you're looking at your biggest rival in Green Bay. and you're watching. That's why I call Jordan Love a measuring stick for you guys. You're watching them do what they're doing with their quarterbacks again for the third time in a row all of a sudden. And for Chicago, that's why I sit there and go, what's the breaking point at this point? Like what Joe's talking about, the ineptitude of the franchise in general. Like there's something wrong internally with the Chicago Bears that they can't figure out a way to create a good quarterback, a great quarterback. And again, this is why I bring up Jordan Love, because you're watching across the fucking lake. You're watching this team create a great quarterback.
But Nick, once again, though, I agree with you on Jordan Love and how he was developed, but they didn't do that with Justin. It's a little apples to oranges. It's a little apples to apples, a little oranges to oranges. But there's a lot of apples to oranges in the way they were developed. And look at Nick, you know that I agree with you that the way the Packers developed Jordan Love was a good, proper way to do it.
And why
they
are
are
the
now
Bears doing
reaping the
similar
benefit.
things to that?
Okay, so maybe we are, and you just haven't realized it yet. Who's our backup quarterback right now?
Bajan.
Who's our backup quarterback? Badgett. So Badgett, we let him sit for the next 2 years behind Fields, and he nearly sees the field of play unless there's an injury. And in 2 years, if it's not working and we jettison him, who's the heir apparent? Badgett. Maybe they are kind of doing that. We just aren't, and we're not seeing that in that light.
Maybe, Joe. I really think that that's kind of what you were getting at, right? Is like they're doing these things that just doesn't make sense a lot of times, and that's why I was bringing up the whole Jordan Love thing, is because you're watching how it should be done, and you're just not doing it that way. You know what I mean?
What I'm saying is that
I also mentioned that Jordan Love and Fields are not the same kind of quarterback.
They're not at all. They're completely different types of quarterbacks. They play QB, and they might as well be polar opposites when it comes to the play style, right?
Exactly.
But my thing is this: is like I know that Ken is a Bears fan. He loves the Bears. We all want to believe in our franchise, right? Like, and I especially can relate because I'm a Raiders fan. We have our own history with ineptitude, with draft picks, with picking the wrong coaches. You know, we even with developing quarterbacks, we've had that same problem. I can't remember the last quarterback that the Raiders had that they actually developed. Like Carr was serviceable, but he wasn't a
Rich
great
Gannon
quarterback.
was already developed when he got there. You guys haven't developed a good quarterback in a long time.
That's my point.
And granted, Cutler was a trade, not a pick. He came to us in year 3 of his career
from the
so
Broncos.
It wasn't development. You're right.
So and you also threw out
And
Jim
he was
McMahon.
already a Pro Bowler.
You also
with the
threw out Jim
Broncos.
McMahon, who I would say me and Nick looked at his stats in that 85 Super Bowl year. And it was terrible, dude. Like absolutely dog shit. So my point is this: is like I'm not attacking Ken for believing in his organization, right? What I'm saying is when your organization, just like the Raiders, has a history of ineptitude in a certain area, you can trade coaches every 2 years and you can say it's going to be different this time because this. It's going to be different this time because of this. But guess what? It generally doesn't get different. You generally get the same. And that's what I've experienced as a Raider fan for the last 30 years. And that's what you've experienced as a Bears fan for the last 30 years, as far as the quarterback position goes.
But Joe, I think, and I agree with you, but Joe, I think this is also something, unfortunately, if you look at the way fans are now, if you draft a quarterback in the first round, it's like, oh my God, you got to play him immediately. We don't give these quarterbacks, and the comment that Jason makes here, that all 31 teams should follow what the Packers did. Yeah, they should. And that used to be the way it was. Like McMahon's Super Bowl numbers didn't have to be.
That used to be the way.
Right.
That used to be the way that everybody did it, but not now.
And with McMahon, he didn't have to be great. He had to be serviceable, and he was. And with Trubisky, he shouldn't have had to be great. He should have been able to sit. I was against them starting Trubisky when John Fox started Trubisky, because that's why they signed Glendon, and that lasted 5 games. Then Trubisky was a starter. With Fields, it lasted 6-7 games, and then he was a starter. I mean, fans need to stop and say, look it. You know why guys like the stud quarterbacks who won lots of trophies in this league and lots of accolades, even look at Mahomes. Mahomes sat for a full year, did not see the field. His
Behind
rookie year-
arguably a really good quarterback too.
That's
Yes,
At least
exactly.
he learned
what I
something.
was about to
and
say.
that's and the thing is though, people don't see that. They go, well, Mahomes was a young quarterback. Look what he's done. But his first year, he sat behind a really good quarterback with really good coaching and a really good situation and was able to learn. Well, Jordan Love, though, his first year as a starter, for 3 years, sat behind one of the best quarterbacks in the history of the NFL, learned, and by the way, knows his offense probably better than everyone except Matt LaFleur himself.
So then maybe Justin Fields should have sat behind Andy Dalton a little more.
Yes, he
Unfortunately, he
should've.
got hurt though.
Well, yeah, but then he could have gone. They could have after Dalton. You still had another quarterback, but they elevated Fields so quick to 2. Fields, no, you should have gone with whoever was number 2 at the time. It was
It was Nick
Nick
Foles.
Foles. You go with Foles, and keep Justin because you weren't making the playoffs. You weren't winning the Super Bowl that year. They just let him learn. Well, but the best way to learn is to throw him in there. No, it's not. How many times have we seen this in the league to know it is not? You do what the Packers did.
You're not going to get an argument from us Packers fans that you should throw him in there like that because that's not how we operate. And I believe
anyone should.
I believe that we succeed in our quarterbacks because of the way that we do it. I'm just saying across the lake, right, where you guys do it the way that you guys do it, I don't see success with Fields at this point. I think you guys, it's possible, maybe it's possible that you guys have ruined Fields.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so because if we had ruined him, we'd see a lot. We would have seen a little regression.
Even though
and
you
not
don't think so,
progression.
Ken, it's possible still that maybe you ruined
Well, okay,
that
well,
guy.
it's possible that Jordan Love could end up being the worst quarterback in the NFL next year because
Well, that's
everyone
already
figures
not
him out.
possible, though. That's already not.
But Nick, you're saying your argument. Well, it's possible that the Packers finish in last place in the division next year. It's possible, Nick. Nick, it is possible.
But
mean,
what
that's
I'm
just a
saying
shitty
holds
argument.
a little more weight than that.
No,
That's
it
what I'm
doesn't. It doesn't.
It
because we've
does.
seen
Joe,
dude, the Bears did
Joe,
not
we've
get
talked
no,
about this.
Nick, the Bears did not get eliminated until the final week of the season.
It's
from the
very
playoffs.
possible that you guys
And that was
stunted.
being, and that
Yeah,
was
it's very possible
you
that
see
the
what I'm saying?
Chicago Bears have stunted Fields' growth. It's very possible that you guys may have ruined his
possible.
career. It's very possible.
And it's
And it
possible
wouldn't be the
Jordan
first
Love
career.
could already have 2 Super Bowl rings if he had played for another team. It's
So
possible.
Joe, Ken was saying, well, it's also possible the Packers would be last place. My point is that's more unlikely than you guys
Is it?
possibly ruining Justin Fields. It's
Is
very
it, Nick?
possible.
Look at this division. All 4 teams. You got 4 teams in the division, and all 4 can
And the
make an
Packers
argument
are
that why they should win 11
are
games.
looking at being a possible front runner. So I just what you're
And
saying
so are
doesn't
the Lions,
hold
and
weight.
so are the Bears, and actually so are the
But
Vikings.
Ken, what you're saying doesn't hold weight. Me and
Sure it
Joe
does.
have talked about this extensively, where it's very possible that the Chicago Bears may have ruined Justin Fields' career. It's very possible
If you
that
say so,
happened.
Nick, you're wrong, but okay. You're
I don't feel
possibly
like
wrong,
I'm wrong.
Nick.
Do you
but
feel
okay.
like I'm wrong, Joe?
Look at,
Joe,
look
do
at,
you feel
look
like
at
I'm
Nick,
wrong when I
Nick,
say that?
Nick, all 4 teams in the
Ask
NFC
him.
North
Ask
next
him.
year.
Let him go.
Look at
Let him have
Nick,
his
all
take.
4 teams in the division. All 4 teams in the division next year are theoretically could win 11 games next year.
Okay, but
So
I'm
the
not
Packers
asking
could-
you anymore,
So,
Ken.
but,
Joe, we've
I'm
talked
just
about
saying,
this
it's
extensively.
possible the Packers could win 9 games and be in last place in the division
Joe,
next year.
Do
It's
you
possible.
agree with me that it's very possible the Chicago Bears may have ruined Justin Fields' career? It's very possible, right?
I do agree that it's possible, and I also think it wouldn't be the first career that the Chicago Bears have ruined. Like, there's been a lot of quarterbacks, and again, like I think that Ken is a fan, and he loves the Bears, and he's loyal to his team, and so he's going to defend them like any real fan would. But I just think that there's when you have that history of ineptitude, that like it becomes hard to defend at some point. Like
Well, I
I've
mean,
had to
you
accept
can't
the
just always
fact
have the
that the Raiders.
argument be for 40 years. You can't just say every time that they make a change, anytime a team makes a change, you correct that, Joe. You can't say, well, because for the last ones never worked, it's never going to change. And that's basically what Nick is saying. It's never going to change because it hasn't changed yet. Well, let it try to change first. Don't.
No,
sit
I
there and
totally
say,
understand your argument,
Yeah.
and I do. And your argument, that argument of, well, the only way to change it is to change it, and we have to wait and see. You're right.
Right.
But Nick's argument also holds water, because he's saying if you've slammed your head into a wall 40 times, but you're telling yourself that the 41st time is going to be different, this time the wall is going to break. Like,
no,
it's
Joe. Here's what Nick's trying to get.
and I'm talking about
You-
myself.
you and
I'm not
I
even
are
talking
agreeing.
about- I'm not even talking about you, Ken. I'm
Nick,
even
Nick is
talking
just
about
trying to
myself
say
and
that he's wanting to
as
get
a
rid of
Raider
Justin in Chicago. Nick's
I'm
whole
talking
thing
about
is based
myself as
on
a
field.
Raider fan, right? Like my
Right.
team has a history of ineptitude when it comes to first round draft picks, right? So I'm sitting here, I'm not going into this draft thinking the Raiders are going to hit a home run in the first round. I'm going into this draft with my butthole puckered, hoping we don't take another Alex Leatherwood, because I understand that my team has an ineptitude in this area.
Nick's whole thing is he wants the Bears to get rid of Fields, period. That's it.
No, I know. Actually, we've talked about this on our shows. I hope you guys sign him to 10 years because, in my opinion, it's never going to work. It's never going to be significant enough that you guys actually take over any part of our division or the Packers in general.
All right,
Well,
we're going to let
gentlemen-
A-Dub go, and then after
gentlemen.
that, I'm going to run the advertisement and ender. We're almost at 3 hours.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
Well,
Good.
I was
mean,
gonna say
No,
I
we've had some
partially agree
rivalry
with
too.
Nick on
It's been a
some
good show.
levels about what he was saying. Like, maybe if there was a time and a place where I thought the Bears could have ruined Fields was a matter of at the start of his career, I would say you shouldn't have rushed him in right away. Like, that was the vocal point where you could say fans were about to push Fields where he could be ruined. Like, you bullied your organization into playing the kid right away when you shouldn't have. That was going to be a time and a place. But at the same time, I could see a time where perhaps Fields' career isn't completely ruined, where it can be replenished. It could be saved, as Ken would say. Like, play to Justin Fields' strengths, and eventually we see where he needs to improve. Maybe he can still be
A-Dub,
redeemed somewhere.
A-Dub, do you believe that Justin Fields' career can be revived in Chicago?
Maybe.
See, that's
It strongly depend. It would strongly depend on the right personnel that helps Justin Fields develop. That to me is where the Bears have
It's
to
year
hit.
4. It's year 4, A-Dub.
Nick, though,
What
here's
else
your-
do you need? Do you got to get another coordinator next year? Do you need to get brand new people
No, you
again
just did
the
this
year
year,
after
though,
that?
Nick.
Like, what does
Nick.
this take for you guys to
Nick.
finally go, hey, man, this isn't working? That's
Nick,
all I'm saying.
Nick, well, by your logic, I should never hire an OC. I should never hire any new
That's
coaches.
not my
I
logic.
should
That's
never,
not what I'm
no,
saying.
because it is your logic, Nick, because you're not even giving the new hires the opportunity. So it's year 4. Careers
My
go long.
hypothetical is
You're
bouncing
writing
off
off
of
a
what-
quarterback coming into his
No.
4th year in the NFL
No,
because
not
he's
at
had
all.
shitty
Not at
coaching.
all.
Hey,
My hypothetical
obviously
is
we could
going
go
off
on
of
this
what if this
forever.
doesn't
Ken's
work
trying to
again?
end the show.
My hypothetical is going off of
Ken, if you
what
need
if
to go
this
somewhere,
doesn't
we can
work
keep
again?
going. I mean, that's, as long as the
Hey,
conversation
Nick,
is good,
Nick,
we can keep going.
Nick, this is a chicken or the egg conversation, dude. It's obviously
I mean, it is.
nobody's
I mean, so-
convincing anybody of
Well,
anything.
no,
right
Well,
now.
let me say this. Let me say this. Everybody, let me say this. The Ken and Ken show in the morning, watch it. It is wonderful. That's why I was on this morning. I love watching you guys. Thank you, Ken, for being on here, and the other Ken. Thank you both for doing this. I really love it.
So Nick, though, I think though to answer your question in its totality finally, which I think I answered a long time ago, but one last time I'll bring it to you. I think you give, because you've got 2 years of Justin on a rookie deal. Remember, it's still a rookie deal. It's not like this guy's a 10-year veteran. You got 2 years of a rookie deal. I think you give this OC, this quarterback coach, this head coach, this quarterback minimum 2 years. And if it doesn't work, hold
then
on.
what?
Then you get a new head coach, you get a new OC, a new quarterback.
This
have to
is
start
Joe
over.
slamming his head on the chalkboard for the Raiders again, over
I
and
mean,
over and over
but
again.
look, because otherwise, Nick, the other option would be this. The other option would be this, Nick, and this would be your other option. If in 2 years it doesn't fix, but the quarterback, you determine. Let's say you determine. Look, at Fields is pretty serviceable, right? Let's say you determine that Fields is serviceable. He can still make plays. He's not the reason you're losing. If that's what you determine in 2 years, right? If you determine that the Fields is not the reason why you're losing, then you jettison all the coaches and bring in all new coaches again and try to fix schemes and everything. It's a combination of two things, right? It's a combination of having talent and having the proper schemes to run offenses and defenses. If those aren't married, right, then you have to determine which one is wrong. And in 2 years from now, you determine that Fields is not what's wrong, then yeah, you have to bring in new coaches.
Well,
Hey, Ken, I just watched Joe do this because what you said was very reminiscent of being a Raiders fan and going to a new coach, doing it all over. You know what I mean? Like, it was very, like, I seen it.
The Raiders, though, got it right when they did that.
Your option was, well, then we get a new coach, we get in, like, you're just recycling over and over again.
But no, the Raiders broke the cycle. The Raiders actually did break the cycle. They broke the cycle with Carr and Gruden. And then all that crap with Gruden in the emails came out.
But that did happen. Did happen, unfortunately.
But Nick, though, you can't. And even Joe, when I said, it's like, well, wait a minute. Yeah, we kind of did. They did break the cycle.
But
External forces destroyed what they had going.
But Joe could also accept the fact that, for just example, I know this is very Homer of me to do this, where I compare it to Green Bay. We've only had how many coaches ever? Like 6, I think, ever in our entire franchise history. We've only, like, what we do is we hold on to what we have and we know is true. That's why Jordan Love is succeeding. Jordan Love, in my opinion, if he went to Chicago, he's not going to succeed.
No.
He'll never be a good quarterback. If Justin Fields went to Green Bay, he'd be a great quarterback. That's just my opinion.
So,
I believe that
if
these
not for
values hold
Gruden
true.
gate, if not for the Gruden email gate, Gruden's probably still the head coach. Carr is probably still the starting
But
quarterback.
regardless, Joe is still sitting there understanding the recycling of going to a new coach again, a new OC, a new management. Like, he's been through that.
All you can do to a point, because if you determine, and that's what comes down to determination. If you determine that the coaching is the problem, that the scheme, offensive scheme is the problem, that you need to get a new offensive scheme, then what do? Do you replace the player or do you replace the coach?
Well, you know what, Joe, give us your last take about this whole thing, and then Ken, go ahead and do the advertisements, and we'll get out of here.
Yeah. Honestly, dude, I think having been a Raider fan my whole life and seeing the level of ineptitude and doing the whole hiring and firing coaching carousel, it doesn't work.
Oh.
I do agree with Ken's point that with Gruden and Carr, like, we kind of, although I would actually attribute it to Del Rio first. I think that we broke the cycle. We find, and then Del Rio lost control of the locker room due to circumstances that were outside of his control. But the Raiders don't have a good track record of drafting quarterbacks. Our best quarterbacks in the last 30, 35 years have been free agents or have been trades. I think the Bears are in the same situation. I think the Bears would be better served not drafting and trying to develop quarterbacks, but going and getting already established quarterbacks. Because if you've shown that you just can't do something well, why are you going to continue to fail at it when you could take that first-round pick that you used on a Justin Fields and package another first-round pick and go get an already established guy that can come in and win for you? I think your last good quarterback was Jay Cutler, and he was a trade. And so I think it's smarter for the Bears to go and take an already established commodity, trade for an already established commodity. And I think it's smarter for the Raiders too, like, based off of our history. But it looks like we're going to draft a quarterback. And I'm obviously nervous about that because Carr was the last quarterback that we drafted that was serviceable. And even Carr, like, he had potential until he broke his leg. Like, Carr could have been something really special until he broke his leg, but that ruined his entire career, in my opinion.
And I agree with you, Joe. And to go to your point, I agree with basically almost everything you said there. But given where you are currently, the situation you're currently, you have to stick with Fields because who's the option? The guy you're going to bring in.
Here's an option. And here's an option.
Baker?
No, Baker's staying in Tampa. But here's an option, right? If you were to move off of Fields, get a draft pick for him, You could go get a Kirk Cousins right now and get Marvin Harrison in the draft, and you guys have a possibility with your draft picks. If your draft picks pan out, you guys could be in the playoffs this year with Kirk Cousins. You have the cap space to sign him. You have it opens up the rest of your draft picks to flesh out the rest of your roster. You get a good offensive tackle to protect Kirk. You get Marvin Harrison. All of a sudden, like you said, you have Kmet. Your defense played really well at the end of the year last year. They came on, but I think that could make you a playoff team faster than hoping that Justin Fields develops. And it would be more in line with what you've done traditionally that has made you successful.
So that's one scenario.
I guess my point is that some teams can draft and develop quarterbacks, and some teams can't. And unfortunately, you and I are fans of teams that can't, whereas Nick and Ken are fans of a team that can.
Well, actually, they didn't draft far. Let's start right there.
That's true.
They did
but
not
they drafted Rodgers.
Favre was one that the savior just drop him in.
I just want to clear the air on that because Favre was not. He was drafted by Atlanta and played for Atlanta, then went to Green Bay. But they've developed the last two, so I'll give them the credit there. So, and Joe, with our two teams, we also, though, as fans of the Raiders and the Bears, respectively, have to put faith that the new regime that's in control now will change that ineptitude, and we have to give them the opportunity to change that. We can't just say, because if we did give teams a chance and we just say same old Lions, and they wouldn't have won a playoff game this year. Dan Campbell has changed the culture in Detroit over the last 30 years that they had. He's changed the way they've done things. And look, he lived by the sword. He also died by it, but you have to give him the credit that he changed the culture of that team and he developed things in Detroit that they were never able to develop. So now we have to, with our two teams, right? And I think the guy we hired in Vegas is the guy to be hired. He is a Raider guy. He bleeds silver and black. He bleeds what this team should be. They may develop the next quarterback. The Bears, you have to give them at least the benefit of the doubt and the hope that they have changed that history and will develop Justin Fields further into a better quarterback than he is currently. Because, like I said, like Nick even said, he could go to their team and go to playoffs right now. Well, maybe that happens with the Bears this year, but you have to at least give them the opportunity. And if 2 years is still ineptitude and you say Justin's not the answer, but the coaching's good, then maybe you go to what Ken and Nick have said. You keep Eberflus and the coaching staff and you go trade for a quarterback or sign a good veteran quarterback that's proven elsewhere that you don't have to develop. And because you say, yeah, maybe we did ruin Justin. But you got to give him the time to get to that point.
Or maybe you go this year and you get Kirk Cousins and you sit Justin Fields down behind Kirk Cousins.
And I'm not against that, Joe, but I think, though, here's the problem with that. I think from an analytical standpoint, that argument makes a lot of sense, right? It does, right? You got a guy, he's proven, he's a consummate pro. Justin can learn from him. But on the flip side of that, though, Joe, if you do that, what does that do to Justin's psyche as a quarterback and a player?
I think one of the points, though, that Joe was making was like, you're talking to Packers fans, unfortunately, right? Oh, no. But there is something to be said about how we're watching this franchise do things the way that they do, and other franchises are struggling, and they're not doing that same thing. Like, why not adopt similar aspects to a franchise that's clearly making this succeed, right?
And I think, and Nick, I agree with that to a point, because I think the Bears have done that with certain things. And as far as we know, maybe they're developing Badgett. If in 2 years we decide Justin's not the guy, maybe Badgett in year 4 of his NFL career comes out and destroys the league like Jordan Love did.
Maybe.
That's the thing that's hard for us as guys who are doing a podcast is we're not in the boardroom, we're not in the decision room. That may be what the Bears, because look, in the past, Badgett would have started the rest of the season. The fans would have had their way. But the team said, nope, Fields is coming back. He's the guy. In the past, though, Badgett, Nick, you shook your head because I'm right. Badgett would have started the rest of the season with the way he did in the past.
I know
so
you're right.
Maybe they are already turning that corner, turning that page. But once again, though, we got to give them appropriate time. And someone said, "Well, why do you need 6 years to know a quarterback's good?" Ask Geno Smith. Ask a bunch of other quarterbacks in
I still
history.
think you guys should go get Cousins and sit Badgett and Fields behind him, and let them learn.
Psychologically, it doesn't.
You could potentially develop 2 quarterbacks at the same time. Number one, and number two, I think Justin Fields is mentally tough enough to handle the fact, like, of bringing a Kirk Cousins in to learn from. If you explain it to him in this way, look, you're our guy. Kirk Cousins, he's 36 years old. We're not getting him to replace you for the rest of your career. We're getting him to help you get to unlock the piece of your game that's missing so that you can take us to the next level. You're still going to be our guy. You're still going to get paid, but just sit and learn and watch how this dude does things.
I already know what Ken's going to say is at this stage in his career, you can't do that. You're going to ruin his mental, his psyche, his.
I don't agree, though. I don't agree, though. I think he's mentally tough. I think if he's mentally tough, he can handle being benched for,
I think you're going to ruin his psyche. That way. I think you're going to mess up his mind.
I agree with Nick and Cody. Actually, 2 more years would put him to 5 years. He's got 2 years left on his rookie contract, which is 5 years, Cody, to clear that up. And I kind of agree with Nick. I think, though, that, Joe, that's not just – and, yeah, I think, we like to think that any starting quarterback in the league would be mentally tough enough. But by that same token, though, I think it would destroy almost any starting quarterback. If you brought in Kirk Cousins to replace Jordan Love next year and tell Jordan needs to sit and learn behind him, it would ruin
Jordan Love by doing that.
It would ruin any quarterback. Like, it just – once you're QB1, have you ever found a situation where you had a guy who was QB1 for a year, 2 or 3 years in a team, and then they brought in a older, wiser veteran quarterback to help fix some perceived issue in that quarterback, whether that quarterback ended up being dominant
never happened.
Never.
The answer is it's never happened.
Never. I mean, so in theory, Joe, it's not a bad idea. It's like not a bad theory to have, but in practical purposes, I think you destroy that quarterback that you're trying to actually improve. You would actually make that person regress and not progress.
The closest moments that we ever got was Steve Young and Joe Montana, and then Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. Those are the closest moments that we've ever got of what you're talking about. But it never, you can't do that to your starting QB1. Once you get rid of your other QB1, that's the guy now. You know what I mean? Right. You have to ride with that guy. And if you bring in someone to mentor, and I get what you're saying, Joe. I agree with Ken that it does kind of make sense in certain ways. The problem is if you do that to Justin Fields, you're already letting him know he's not good enough to be your guy. No matter what you say, you can tell him hey, you're my guy. Okay. It won't matter.
Okay,
he's gonna think immediately that he's not your guy.
Let's say that you're right. Let's say that it ruins Justin Fields' confidence, right? However, Tyson Bagent is not your starter. So you could potentially develop Bagent behind Cousins, get rid of Fields, and you might end up with a starting quarterback that is serviceable in 2 or 3 years.
You might be right.
I think though, for Kirk Cousins specific, I think Kirk Cousins would be good to sign with either the Raiders or Atlanta, and we let you guys draft a quarterback, and that's what you do. You sign Kirk for 2 or 3 years and let your quarterback you draft in the first round this year grow behind Kirk. The Bears are in a position right now where that's off the table. If you're going to groom anyone right now, it's going to be Bagent, who's not a bad guy to have to groom, by the way, behind Fields. So I think Chicago, you're set in stone right now. You're rolling with Fields for the next 2 to 3 years. Well, 2 years minimum under his rookie contract, and you're growing Bagent. And if at the end, after 2 years, if Fields is not the answer, Bagent will have had 3 years to grow, learn, and everything else. And remember, this Bagent, what we saw of him early this year, kind of, patient, smart.
Yeah, but
he also sat in the pocket like a normal quarterback.
But who is Bagent learning from? That's the question. Bagent, you're talking about 2 years of Justin Fields, who Justin Fields himself needs teaching and seasoning and mentoring. But now you're talking about in 2 years, if Justin Fields doesn't work out, we have Bagent, but Bagent will have had that 2 years on the bench learning nothing because he's
No,
not.
that's not true. He's learning. He's still doing practice every day. He's still learning the playbook. He's learning what not to do for things that Justin would say. Justin's doing bad things. He's learning what not to do, what habits not to do to be a better
Okay,
quarterback.
but
So
he's
still
not
learning.
being-
It's still
he's not-
positive.
Yeah, but he's not learning
He's
what
not
to do
specifically
at that
being
point.
groomed. He's not specifically being groomed in the way that we have been talking about in
Well,
this conversation.
We
That
don't know
quarterback
that,
should
Joe,
be
because
groomed.
it could be a point where they're teaching Justin the right things, and Justin's not able to do it, whereas Badgett is grasping those lessons.
Let me
and
ask
maybe
you this,
feels
Ken.
this-
Ken,
Yeah.
if Justin Fields was the draft pick and we didn't have Jordan Love, do you think sitting behind, because it would be 2 years, sitting behind Aaron Rodgers and watching and playing for the Packers, who are known for making good quarterbacks, do you think that he'd be balling out right now, like better
Dude, I
than
think
he
if
is,
you,
does
I
in
think
Chicago?
if you had flipped the script and let's say the Packers were able to get Justin that year, right? I think you guys won the Super Bowl this year with Justin as your quarterback.
So doesn't that kind of tie into what we're saying? Is maybe
It's
a culture thing?
situational.
Maybe it's a
Well,
Chicago Bears
like what-
thing.
Look, it's like what I said. It's like I said, even with Mahomes, it's coaching and talent around you, and Justin hasn't had those perks. He's been at a
I
disadvantage.
think what we're trying to highlight though is that internally you guys aren't doing the right things. You know
No,
what I
we
mean?
weren't. We weren't. But that's the thing, though.
What?
The key is we weren't doing the right things. I'm now hoping, as I have to, as a fan of my franchise, is that we are now starting to do the right things, and we should see that materialize over the next couple of years.
Yeah, that's the thing is you gotta hope, being the fan of it. But I don't know how it's not sitting in the back of your head of, man, they're just gonna mess this up again, like the way that they have. Like, take for instance when we play San Francisco, or not even just San Francisco. When we're in these playoffs, we are hopeful we're going to win. We might be confident about it, but it still sits in the back of your head of, is this shit just going to go on again?
So, it's always going to be in the back. Look, it's in your back of your head until it changes, right? So, as a fan, we all have to be optimistic that our team is going to do better the next year. So, you're not thinking that way till something happens that makes you think that way again, right? So, I mean, otherwise, dude, why be a fan at all? Why even have hope? I mean, you've got to hope that your team is correcting its issues until they prove otherwise. And like I revert back, I think a great argument for that is look at this year's Lions team. The Lions, and after 30 years, they broke that.
Yeah,
so now
I'll give you that one.
So now you look at this Bears, new OC, new quarterback coach, new president of operations, and Warren that was brought in this year, who had a lot of success in his position in the Big Ten and other things he's done. You look at the quality of people that brought in, so now you have to have hope that, look at the way Poles is drafted. We haven't had a GM hit on this many draft picks, on this much talent, as long as I can remember as a Bear fan. Like, we always had GMs who would hit on a pick here, a pick there. Dude, if you look at what Poles' draft, he's drafting better than any Bears GM I can remember in the last 2 or 3 decades. So
And you know what? We're going to touch on that.
Okay.
We're going to start touching on that tomorrow morning, Ken.
Yeah,
Seriously,
we could go
the
for
Ken
5
and
hours.
Ken in the morning show. I'm sorry, but that has such a great ring.
I think I'm definitely going to make it at least the tagline for now until we get
Ken in the morning show. You're both fucking awesome, for real.
We're making and along those lines, while we're getting to commercials and all that, let's do that because we've been on for 3 hours, 17 minutes, and 24 seconds. So guys, look, we owe it to you guys to probably cap this at somewhere between an hour to 2 hours on the normal. We do have new graphics coming, but we got to do the plug on this side as well. Don't forget on the Bears side of the house, because this is a house divided, guys. Nowhere else you're going to find a Packers-Bears show combined every day of the week. So on the Bears side of the house, every Sunday morning, 11:30 a.m. Central to 12, we're on the Roku, Facebook, YouTube, Northeast Streaming Sports with the Palace Hall, and every Saturday night at 7 p.m. we are the same. Now on the Packers side of the house, Ken, when are they on?
Well, we got a lovely advertisement for you to tell you exactly when
There
we're
you go.
The Frozen Tundra Network. Like and share our page on Facebook and
not the
Instagram.
video.
And of course, We got
That's just
Bill,
a
the
picture.
Packer fan, who's always been here with us. And now we have Packers News 24/7 for all of your Packers news, highlights, and updates. One of our newest pages, Packer Backer News. They have a morning show every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 10 a.m. Central Time. Go check them out. And as everybody knows, we have the Frozen Tundra Network podcast on the Northeast Streaming Sports Channel that is live every Saturday and Monday, 5 p.m. Central Time.
And that's the 5 to 6 on Saturday and Monday are the Roku shows. They're also going to be on Bill the Packer Fan, all your Packer Network pages. You guys currently catch them on.
All the normal spots.
And for Bears fans, we're on Saturday and Sunday on all the normals. And then every Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Central, Ken and Ken in the morning, the House Divide, the only place you're going to find a podcast with mortal enemy franchises where we tend to actually somewhat agree, even when we disagree, and we all get along and like each other. And we will be talking more than just Bears and Packers. We'll talk about other things. Nick owes us a new commercial. Nick owes us a new commercial for our show, so we have a better intro. We're going to work, guys. We're growing with these things. You're watching growth in motion. So you guys should know by now with Nick, myself, Ken, Bill, Mike, and we've been doing this for 5-6 years together. We're always evolving. This is the next evolution as we move forward. I just got to make sure I get up by 9 o'clock in the morning because I'm being the retired guy. I mean, like last Thursday I missed because I didn't wake up till 11:30 in the morning.
I personally just love this Ken and Ken in the morning show. Like this is, it's worth watching.
So, obviously, be in the comments. Thank you, Nick. I have a lot of fun with Ken. Ken and I can probably go for another 5 hours if you want.
Oh, yeah. That's the problem. We get going and we don't want to stop.
So our due-outs to you guys is a new intro, new outro, a time cap. And I know we only had one slide being this one today, but we owe you some moving topics so we don't circle around. Even though we had great discussion, thank you to everyone who came on today. From Raiders Nation, Atlanta, Falcon, the Dirty Birds. If you're a fan of another team, come to us with your topics. Ken and I are more than happy to hit them. Nick keeps coming and going, but we have some due-outs. We'll make this better for you guys. Ken, as always, man, it was fun today.
All right, yeah. It was.
I mean, 3 hours.
Yeah.
We obviously had fun.
We had the Super Bowl, plus we had to get to our normal shit.
Yep.
All right.
And we won't just be picking on each other's teams, okay, guys?
Yeah, surprisingly, we'll both give each other props about it, but being Bears and Packers fans, we got to take a swipe.
Yep, we do. Well, until tomorrow morning, guys.
Yeah, thanks everyone for watching.
Takes the snap. He has time.